I now reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education at 6 p.m. with Bridge, Cruz, Na, Schaffer, and Gagnier present. Before we begin, please silence all electronic devices and note that these proceedings are being recorded. Pat.
The board met in closed session from 4:30 to 5:28 p.m. regarding conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one possible case, student discipline matters, conference with labor negotiators, ACT and CSCA, public employee appointment, coordinator, equity, diversity, and student support systems, and coordinator, multi-tiered systems of support for behavior, and public employee performance evaluation superintendent.
Leading the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Mr. Danny
Madam
Hernandez.
President, I need to do the report out. Sorry. Okay. The board appointed Antonia Hunt as coordinator, equity, diversity, and support systems effective May 6, 2022 by a vote of 4-0 with Bridge, Na, Schaffer, and Gagnier voting yes and Cruz absent, and appointed Eunice Castanos as coordinator, multi-tiered system of support and behavior effective May 6, 2022 by a vote of 4-0 with Bridge, Na, Schaffer, and Gagnier voting yes and Cruz absent. No further action was taken, which requires public disclosure.
Leading the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Mr. Danny Hernandez, President of CSCA.
If you can, please stand. If you have a head covering, please remove it. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are now at comments from our student representative, Mrs. Kim.
All right, good evening, everyone. I want to keep my comments short as it seems like we're entering a long meeting tonight, so let's get to it. May 1st was National College Signing Day, where our college-bound students committed to their post-high school education. Congratulations, seniors. You're all off to wonderful futures, and we will miss you dearly. The California Department of Education is seeking applicants for their inaugural Parent Advisory Council to provide feedback on matters concerning youth throughout the state. Parents, applications are due today, May 5th, and can be found on the CDE website. With AP testing season week in full power, I want to wish all of our testers good luck and say congratulations on marking the fruition of a very long year. Don't forget to take care of your physical and mental health and get good nights of sleep. And lastly, congratulations to a new student board member appointee, Maya. The next meeting will be my last meeting on the school board, and I'm incredibly proud and excited to pass the seat on to the next student board member. That'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. We're now at item 1D, comments from employee representatives. We'll start with Ms. Brenda Walker, ACT President.
Good evening, President Gagnier, school board members, Superintendent Enfield, District Cabinet, and community. How many weeks until the end of the traditional school year? Yeah, see, I'm not surprised that students and educators know the number of days without too much hesitation. Why? One reason could be because families have great vacations or even staycations planned. It could be because students can't wait to go from elementary to junior high or junior high to high school, or because some can't wait to graduate and get their adult lives started, and that's exciting. But you know another reason why everyone can tell how many days are left so quickly? Because there's still work to be done. And none of us have a second to waste. None of us. Students, teachers, administrators, staff, none of us. The CVUSD school community can't afford to lose focus. Aside from the celebrations and recognitions that students work so hard to achieve and so rightfully deserve, there's still a lot to be done. There are still learning units to prepare and teach. There are still statewide tests to take, IEP meetings, STEP meetings, other meetings that need to be scheduled and held, presentations to share, reports to write, complete, review, and submit. All the things that are included in running a school district with educators educating and students learning and achieving. We don't have time to lose focus, because when we lose focus, students don't get what they deserve, which is the best that we have to offer. So I implore you to focus. Focus on the fact that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and parents, students, and staff have gone out of their way to let teachers know how valuable they are to this district. And on behalf of all the teachers, we appreciate it, parents, administrators, and staff. We thank you for all the creative and thoughtful ways you are showing your appreciation for teachers. Here's something else, school board, you can focus on. Focus on all the things you can do and to retain educators in this district. So many of our teachers, not only teachers, but nurses, counselors, psychologists, are seriously weighing their options for next year. And it would be a great loss to our district if they found a district home somewhere else because you failed to show your appreciation and lost focus. Lastly, I hope you get my point. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and I hope that you stay focused so that our students receive the education they deserve. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Danny Hernandez, CSEA President.
Thank you, President Gagnier, board members, Superintendent Enfield, cabinet, community, and staff. I want to start off by congratulating or recognizing National Teacher Appreciation Week of May 1st through the 7th. Like Ms. Walker brought out, the teachers, counselors, nurses, that special day of recognition is very much appreciated for all the work that they do for our students, staff, and community. Once I became president and realized that this was an every year thing, every year I always wanted to make sure that I recognized Mr. Dave Fackler. He was a teacher of mine back when I went to high school. But I always wanted to make sure that I did recognize him. Still to this day, I have a hard time calling him Dave. Still, it's Fackler or Mr. Fackler. And then with May 11th being School Nurse Day, their work is invaluable to our staff and specifically our students. May 15th through May the 21st is CSEAW Appreciation Week, which is Classified Appreciation Week. This week is to celebrate the work and dedication these strong individuals provide to the students, staff, parents, and community on a daily basis. So many to mention, but like Ms. Walker mentioned, there are many things that take place that are done behind the scenes. Getting ready for the end of the school year is just a start. It's ending the school year, getting things prepared for the next school year is our busiest time of the year. So I do want to make sure that I do recognize and appreciate the classified staff, especially this coming week of May 15th through the 21st. Lastly, graduations is among us. CVUS, finding out and talking to a lot of other districts or CSEA presidents, CVUSD is unique in that we, as a district, allow staff, administrators, teachers, and also that of classified staff. They have the opportunity to hand one of their graduating high school family members their graduation diploma on that special day. Finding out and again talking to community or different districts, this is unique to CVUSD. And I just wanted to make sure that I extended that appreciation and that thank you to the board and cabinet. And with that concludes my comments.
Thank you. We will now hear from Ms. Barbara Bearden, Champ President.
Good evening, President Gagnier, school board members, Dr. Enfield, cabinet, and Chino Valley community. Happy Cinco de Mayo. First, I'd like to congratulate our 2 new coordinators in Student Support Services and Health Services. I know site administrators are excited to work with you. This evening, I would like to recognize our teachers and school nurses. Teachers, thank you for the tireless work you do for our students to ensure they are prepared for the next grade. the next chapter in their educational career, or for life. You have an incredible impact on our students. Nurses and health techs, we are beyond thankful for you, especially this year. We know it has been difficult to work under some extreme circumstances thanks to the pandemic, but you persevered and our students are in school because of your diligence. Earlier this week, CHAMP members celebrated with Mr. Finkbeiner and his family as he received the Middle Grades Administrator of the Year Award. I would like to thank the CHAMP members for their attendance. Additionally, we celebrated Dr. Parks and Mrs. Chase's daughters as they both received Access scholarships. It was a very special night. CHAMP members, please remember, tomorrow is the last day to secure your CHAMP polo. If you have not done so, please complete the Google form by the end of the day on Friday. And our next CHAMP meeting is scheduled for Friday, May 13th. That's going to be a fun day, at 6:30 a.m. via Zoom. We hope you will all join us. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now at item 1E, comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Pat, do we have any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
8 marked non-agenda items.
Thank you. Speakers will be called in the order the request was received. Please listen for your name and be prepared to approach the podium. Any comments on agenda items will be accepted during consideration of that item. Once the board has commenced deliberations on an issue, speaker cards will not be accepted. The board is very interested in your comments, but please bear in mind that the board typically does not respond to comments during this time on the agenda, as it is reserved specifically for public comments. Individual members may respond during board comments at the end. Additionally, the board does its best to support the public's right to address its elected officials. It is also important that the board conduct its business in an orderly and fair fashion, as provided in Board Bylaw 9323. In the event that an unusual amount of speaker cards is submitted for any item, the board will hear up to 30 minutes of comments. In the case of non-agenda items, the board can, if it chooses, hear the remainder of comments after all business has been conducted. Further, this bylaw states, in part, individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. A speaker may not use the podium for purposes other than addressing the board directly. If there are no further comments, a speaker will be considered to have relinquished his or her allotted 3 minutes. This means that speakers cannot donate their time to another speaker, which in effect can give that speaker more than 3 minutes. The exception to this is when non-English speakers require a translator. Mr. Na, will you please explain the light system?
You may begin comments at green light. Yellow light means you have 30 seconds left, and red light means your time's over. Board Policy 1312-1 outlines the procedure for complaints against district employees.
The first speaker is student Jacob Costa, followed by Richard Wales, followed by Sonia Shaw. Jacob Costa.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jake Costa. I'm a student at Briggs Elementary. I'm here to thank Mr. Na and Mr. Cruz for what they did for my school. I got told from 10 students, thank you for saying and talking to the board about the mask mandates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Wales, followed by Sonia Shaw, followed by Virginia Renteria.
I want to talk about one thing at this point. If anyone has not read the DOE complaint and investigation results, they need to do so. And all of you have seen this. It's pretty disgusting. It's really disgusting. What I don't understand about this is why this right here wasn't followed. Okay, the things I read in this DOE complaint, now I'm a little bit older than I'd like to be, But when I was in sports in high school, the sexual harassment that is outlined in this report would have gotten you beat up and tossed out of the locker room if you were lucky. But this environment that we're seeing now in our school system, in our school district, we have an environment of violence, a culture of violence. We have a culture of no accountability. And this document supposedly is for accountability. And we have students, young boys, young men, I don't know what you want to call them, that didn't behave the way they were supposed to. We had coaches that didn't do what they were supposed to. We had site admins that did not do what they were supposed to. And the problem is, this problem is still going on. In different ways, shapes, and forms, it's going on. And the beginning of this school year was inexcusable. Completely inexcusable. Something needs to be done about this, and it needs to be done now before we end up with somebody stabbed, shot, raped, or killed. But that's up to you guys. So I hope you find a good solution. It's not.
Sonia Shaw, followed by Virginia Renteria, followed by Oscar Avila.
Good afternoon, Dr. Enfield, board, and community members. My name is Sonia Shaw. I'm the president of a local advocacy group here in Chino Valley. I wanted to touch on a few things in open comments tonight. Number one, I am still actively seeking a solution and direction for our bus drive shortage and late start dilemma this coming up school year. I am begging all of you guys, again, to please reach out to your contacts and help work together to seek a solution, as this is going to cause a tremendous amount of problems. There is mention about waivers, etc., and I am sure you guys contacting Tony Thurman's office will have a huge impact, especially you, Dr. Enfield, as I have contacted his office several times. Please help our children before this turns into a huge problem for our children and our stakeholders. Number two, special education. We all know that those parents have to deal with a lot, and I personally have heard some really horrific stories, but I'd rather focus on the solutions. In our school district, you have to usually pick mainstreaming or being in special education. Then you have to pick mild to college track versus mild to severe life skills track. But ideal law is very clear that you have to tailor the program for each individual kid, which means this can actually be illegal. So there is one school in our district that has started a pilot program with 2 kids to allow blended with all 3 mainstreaming, mild to moderate classes. I would love to give you guys some contacts of parents that have special needs children here to be able to maybe learn a little more about these programs and get them more in more schools for us. Number 3, this one is SB 866. Today, we've been watching all these bad bills up there, and it's moving forward to another committee. And as parents, we know our child best, and it does not make sense to allow them to choose to get to any vaccine at the tender age of 12. Let's be real. A 12-year-old has no capability of deciding something, especially when it comes to their health in regards to that. Now, this can lead to a tremendous amount of unnecessary stress for our children, all while causing more division and possible horrific health risks. Maybe if something so horrific passes, we can agree to not push it here in Chino Valley, like other districts are already doing with bribery and coercion. I personally have seen it because my other daughter's enrolled in Pomona Valley. I have one enrolled in here, and they have the lunch buses and all those. Come get your vaccine. We'll give you food. We'll give you books. We'll give you gift cards. We'll send you to sports. We'll give you a family 4-pack. I'm begging you, do not allow it to come here because our kids, I mean, we've already had enough division in our community recently, and we need to get back to the old Chino where we preserve values and our community works together. Also, I think we need to focus on getting leaders with common sense in any position going forward, and I'm asking the community to please vote responsibly because this past year has been hard on our children. Thank you.
Virginia Renteria, followed by Oscar Avila, followed by Nicole Vicario.
Schaffer, you had asked me to bring some books, which I did. This is the book, It's Perfectly Normal, which is within our school district. Okay? I think it edges on pornographic. Perfectly Normal, showing straight and gay homosexuality. Shows full-on pictures of women and men with their pubic hair in the bed. Yeah, in the bed. It's disgusting. In the bed. This is what is into the schools. The other one, which the title alone says it's what it's about. My principal. This is the garbage that has infiltrated our school districts. I pray that CRT and the new term SEL, Social Emotional Learning, is nipped in the bud. Parents, if you go outside, there's a lot of parents out there that we are sick and tired of this. We do need, as Sonia said, we do need a changing of the guard. It's time. What we have is we're infiltrating the schools to create racism, just like our government with that phony baloney Supreme Court judge that cannot even define a woman, yet, and racism, yet she's married to a white man. How much sense does that make? I'm just here because it's frustrating to no end what President Trump had put together the 1770. Teach our children history, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, everything that we were taught as young children. Just like we have a division, there's 99% of you that are here breathing freely, and maybe 1% that are masked up. Same thing on the board. This is America. I don't care. You can wear a mask, you can wear rubber gloves. It's America. You should have a choice. Parents, and I'm urging all those parents that are watching online, you need to show up in masses in the school, and you need to show up for this election coming up because it is very important. One last suggestion that I might submit is that all of us that have had problems in the neighborhood, we have cameras. I have cameras all around my home. Why not putting why don't we put cameras in the school classrooms? We have cameras to protect our homes, but what is more valuable than our home? Our children, right? Our children are the most valuable thing. They could burn my house down, but don't touch my kids. So that is my suggestion,
Thank you.
and I thank you.
Thank you.
What? Okay, sure. Oscar Avila, followed by Nicole Vicario, followed by Tyra Weiss, and there's been a request for the speakers to please speak directly into the microphone so that people in the overflow can hear.
Thank you. Hello, good evening, board. You guys look beautiful once again. No mask except for the young lady. I bet you're beautiful behind that mask. I bet you are. Anyways, I want to thank you today for this night. I have a couple of comments. Somebody earlier commented, a parent commented about the SBH66, the minor consent for the vaccine. It's being passed on to the next level. And I would say the reason why parents come here is because we want to have parental rights. We want to be involved in our kids' life and our future and what they put in their bodies. So this bill would authorize or make it legal for for a child to get a vaccine under the age of 12. Right, and we know as a parent you want to be in control of your children's future because they're 12 years old, and at 12 years old we don't know much, right? I have a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old now actually. She's pretty smart, but she ain't got a job yet, so she don't really have a say so. But anyways, at that age, at 12 years old, they can't really make life changing or life altering decisions, right? But what it is we just found out today, right, that the FDA, right, rejected the J&J vaccine, right, for anybody under 18, right? So they're saying that a child under 18 cannot get a J&J vaccine, so they reject it. So imagine if a 12-year-old chooses to get a J&J vaccine, right, and then the parent doesn't know, and then the child gets sick, right? Parent, why are you sick? Or the kid's nervous, right? The kid's scared because parents don't know they got a vaccine, right? So this kid got the J&J vaccine, and something's wrong with the child, right? Well, the child can't seek any proper medical help. The child can't seek any proper medical help because the parents didn't know that the kid got the vaccine, because there's a law that says that you could do it on your own if you're 12 years old or younger, right? So what I'm saying is, as parents, we ask you guys to help us keep our rights. They're taking away our rights little by little. They're being stripped away daily. Every day, there was a bill yesterday that they wanted to vote on. They didn't. Now they got the SB 866. So what it is you guys were elected, right, for a community, right, as leaders, right, as people that we trust our children to. So I want you guys to step up and do something, right? Speak up for us, right? Because literally right now, they're getting ready to tell our kids, right, that if you're 12 years old, go ahead and get the vaccine. We just found out today, right, that the FDA rejected the J&J vaccine because it's giving them blood clots. Okay, so it's illegal for a kid now under the age to get the J&J vaccine because of blood clots, right? So we're having you guys to ask for us to please speak for us, right, and fight for our children, because we're literally losing the rights to our kids, right? And you are here as part of the school district representing our children, right, speaking for us, right, to the state, to the governor, right? So write another letter, do another amendment, do another bill, do something, right? Be our voice, right? We need you right now. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cassandra Sanchez, followed by Nicole Vicario, followed by Tyler Weiss. Cassandra Sanchez.
Hello and good evening, everyone. I'd be reading this on behalf of my aunts and my family. You heard them yourself, folks. Those teachers out in the abundance of the heart, their mouths speak. Continual awareness of who is really teaching our children is what is happening, and the removal of these Third Reich communists is what we will continue to do. As children are children under age of 18, we say stop the indoctrinating, the grooming, and the children with your woke union mafia values and beliefs. And then turning it around, calling it health and wellness, which is not the best for our children. We do not want to continue this merry-go-round of a broken society where the money is never enough and the children come out of the public schools worse off than the past generations. Look at them well, and remove the bad apples from the board and the schools, as some of them still continue to stand and teach the religious communist beliefs in the sex ed curriculum, Planned Parenthood, CRT, BLM, Incorporated, subjects to name a few. These aspects of life are not your obligations to talk about. So stand aside and sit in your proper positions which are to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. You are not your mumbo jumbo mixed into class time. This facade of the public school establishment has reached its peak, wishing to continuously keep everyone in the line as sheeple. Just look at how the indoctrination has led society to believe that killing newborns and an unborn with a heartbeat is okay, and this is part of a woman's right to choose for their bodies, and then calling this health care. That's ridiculous. It's murder. When there's a mammal inside of another mammal, there's two separate entities, regardless of it being delivered or not. It is two bodies and two separate DNAs. We parents do not want these communist Marxist leaders and teachers. We nominate them to help Biden and the regime to build back better in another country, because their build back better is really building back broke. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hilda Rodriguez, followed by Nicole Vicario, followed by Tyler Weiss. Hilda Rodriguez. Hilda Rodriguez. Nicole Vicario. No, wait, that's not Hilda Rodriguez.
Oh, no, Tyra Weiss.
Nicole Vicario is next.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nicole Vicario. I'm an employee at Ayala High School for the district. I wanted to kind of touch on what Mr. Hernandez said about allowing staff members to give their diploma to their family members. I'd like to ask the board to find out why I have not been granted permission to give the diploma to my niece. She is an Ayala student. I brought her over to live with me from Colony, and she was behind in grades. I brought her over, put her into the AEC program, and she is now graduating with her class. I spoke with Diana Yarboy on April 29th, and I asked her if I could give my niece her diploma. She told me that she was going to look into it and that she would get back to me. I touched base with her again yesterday. She told me that because I did not birth my niece, that I did not have a right to give her her diploma. So I asked her why, not to throw Ms. Park under the bus, but I asked her why Ms. Park was going to be able to give her daughter her diploma and I couldn't give it to my niece. And she stated, because Ms. Park birthed her child and you did not do that. So I told her, you know, there's something special about somebody that can bring someone else's child, even if it's my niece, my blood, over and make sure that she graduates high school. And for her not to see the greatness in that is just disheartening. So I want to ask the board if they can find out why she has not granted me permission when all other people have been granted permission to be able to do that for their family members. So that's what I want to say about that. I want to go on to my son, my 3.5-year-old son. We found out he's autistic, and so we're going through trying to get services for him, speech services, OT, because he's nonverbal. And so I just want to kind of touch on the mask thing a little bit, just because it's affected our family and many other students drastically. When I called to schedule his appointment, because he was approved through insurance, referred through insurance to schedule an appointment with a speech, to get speech and OT, they said that there was a 6 to 7 month wait list in order for him to get services, because they are so overwhelmed with how many students, young students between the ages of 2, 3, 4, and 5 that are not able to speak properly due to the mask and COVID restrictions that we've had the last 3 years. I then called the district to see if I can get some assistance, because he is over 3 years old, and they stated the same thing, that not that they have a wait, but that they are hearing that the counties are having waits and giving assistance. So I just want to say that out loud. It's my own personal experience that I'm seeing firsthand that it's going to be very difficult to get my son services because of the restrictions and things that were happening for COVID, and they really did affect our younger generation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyra Weiss, followed by Byron Gonzalez. Tyra Weiss. Tyra Weiss.
Thank you. My name is Tyra Weiss. I am a Chino resident and a Pomona school teacher. I'm reading on behalf of one of your CSEA employees. As a Chino homeowner for more than 20 years, a mother of 3 CVUSD children, and as a CVUSD instructional aide, I am distraught at what is happening in our district. Members of our school board are forcing their own agendas rather than working with our teachers, parents, and community for the betterment of our schools. They pander to a loud, disruptive minority, many of whom do not have students in CVUSD schools. For too long now, at the hands of members Cruz and Na, time and money have been wasted on non-school business items. These members' prejudices, biases, and religious fervor have left our district battered and in debt. Divided and suffering, they are not doing the job this body was created to do. Working in our schools with our teachers and students, I have seen the damage done as a result of these dangerous and self-serving practices. Deceptions laid out by these members, as well as others who seek to join this board, hurt us all. These people seek only a public platform for their hate speech and lies, rather than to fulfill their oaths of office. They use their public platform for an audience to their personal opinions, not the issues actually facing our schools. This must stop. Our children, all of the children in this district, are paying the price for this school board's lack of honesty, focus, and reason. Our schools stand to lose many teachers and school employees due to this board's lack of unity. I hear it on a daily basis from multiple school sites. Employees are stating that they can't work in this environment and that they can't deal with all of this nonsense anymore. I urge all present and potential future board members to focus on the actual issues facing our schools, to put aside your personal agendas in favor of doing your actual jobs. Focus on funding and taking care of our students and schools within federal, state, and county guidelines. Let compassion and reason be the order of the day from now on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Byron Gonzalez.
Hello there. My name is Byron Gonzalez, of course, and I am here just to show this sign right here, which is to let Sacramento know that Chino is against AB 2223, which is basically getting rid of babies even after they're born after 28 days. That is evil. That is awful. What's next? We shouldn't allow this to happen and continue to happen, even throughout California. If we look at what's going on, we have a supermajority in California, which is all Democrats, and they're all passing these all evil bills. And of course, this is not a surprise. Of course, the Democrat Party is part of the KKK. They were the ones that consistently were racist, and now they seem to say that they are anti-racist. Yeah, anti-racist. So, please send a message to Sacramento that we are against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat, we are now at item 1F, changes and deletions. Are there any changes or deletions?
There are none.
Okay. Moving on to action items. Section 2, action. We are now at action items. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for consensus to bring forward item 2B1, the 2022-2023 student member of the Board of Education, so that Ms. Maya King can leave, if she wishes, after we take action on the item and administer the oath of office to her. That way she'll be able to focus on her end-of-year testing and studies. Do I have consensus?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. With that, the first action item this evening is item 2B1, the 2022-2023 student member on the Board of Education. Okay. Item 2B1, 2022-2023 student member on the Board of Education. Recommend that the Board of Education approve Maya King from Chino High School as a 2022-2023 student member of the Board of Education and administer the oath of office. Pat, are there any speakers?
None.
Okay. Board members, I'd like to share a little bit about Ms. King before she gets sworn in. Ms. King is currently a junior at Chino High School, but will be a senior in the 2022-2023 school year. She has always been involved with her school's student council. She will be the ASB president for next year, and in past years, she was the junior class as well as the sophomore class president. Ms. King's other on-campus activities include playing water polo and swim. Next year, she will also be in the school's National Honor Society. She enjoys spending her free time bonding with friends and her teammates. And now for the official vote and then swearing in. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion from Mr. Na and a second from Mr. Bridge. Comments, questions, and discussion from the board. Ms. Kim.
All right, well, I just want to say congratulations. I first want to commend you for taking on the role of representing 28,000 students in our District Board of Education. Your voice and influence on this board has the potential to create so much positive change, and I'm sure you'll use that power next year to impact countless students throughout your term. Being a student board member isn't just sitting on a cool chair and voting. It's about ensuring that students have a substantial seat on the dais and that they're able to actively participate in the decision-making process that shapes their learning experience. It's also about traveling between the student and the adult realm, making sure that students know what's going on in the board and vice versa, that the board knows what's going on with the students, so that our governance is focused on our student needs. In this position, you'll need to make many decisions, sometimes on matters of lighter weight and other times on crossroads that will impact the experiences and safety of thousands of peers. With great power comes great responsibility, and this is definitely a very heavy position. However, it's also a great, exciting learning experience. You'll get to learn the inside outs of local education governance, connect with so many inspiring local leaders, faculty members, parents, community members, and students, and ultimately grow as a person. From my year on the board, I can assure you that this is an experience that stays for a lifetime, and it's definitely something you can look forward to being a big highlight of your final year in high school. If you ever need a helping hand, our board members, our Youth Engagement Director, Mr. Bennett, Superintendent Enfield, our wonderful CVUSD community, and myself, since I'm not graduating next year and still sticking around, we're all here for you and we're all here to help you out. Congratulations again, and I'm very, very proud to be passing the seat on to you for the 2023 school year.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, well, it's now my pleasure to swear in Ms. King. And so, Ms. King, if you would approach the podium.
Do you want to take the vote first?
Oh, sorry. Jumping the gun here. Okay. All those in favor of appointing Ms. Maya King as the student board representative, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-0 with preferential voting yes. Now it is my pleasure to swear in Ms. Maya King. Thank you.
I, Maya King,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose
without any mental reservation or purpose
of evasion,
of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Ms. King.
Thank you. Are you signing now? Are you done? Got it. Thank you.
And then, Ms. King, if you would like to address the board, you're able to do so at this time. Don't feel obligated, though. Would the board like to make any comments for Ms. King before she leaves?
Yeah, I
Mr.
have a
Na.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy that you'll be able to represent not only your fellow students, but all the students in our school district. But also remember that you are the future. You are the hope of our adults. And whatever we could do to support you, let us know so that we could support other students as well. Every life matters, and everyone is so important and very precious. And I know this is an appointment, it's a higher calling, and I'm sure you'll do a great job. Thank you.
Mr. Bridge.
Maya, congratulations, and we look forward to having you here on the dais, hearing your thoughts, your concerns. You're coming in at a terrific time for the Chino High community as we continue to watch the school being built and look forward to having it finished this summer and opening up. So welcome, and we look forward to having you on the board next year. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Schaffer.
Yes, Ms. King. As the other board members said, congratulations. Look forward to working with you. It's a big task. We have a lot of students in this district, but I look forward to working with you and seeing what you have to say, and I'm sure you're going to do a great job in representing our students.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Well, Mrs. King, I want to welcome you to the board. I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure on behalf of my colleagues as well, if you have any questions about how the board operates or want to use any of us as a resource, please feel free to do so. But we are very excited to work with you. And I'd like to give another round of applause for Ms. King. We're moving back to our originally agendized action items. So we are now at item 2A. Item 2A1, request for determination to put an item on the agenda. Recommend the Board of Education determine if Board Member James Na's request to place an item on the agenda opposing AB 2223, reproductive health, is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Pat, are there any speakers?
15?
15?
15.
Before we hear public comments, I'd like to explain a couple of things for clarity to the board and the public. First, for the board, I will ask for a motion and a second to place the item on the floor for discussion. At any given point during this discussion, a board member may make a motion to either approve the request or to deny the request. This will require a second and a vote. After discussion, if any, will be taken on that specific motion. Second, the result of the vote based will determine if we move on to item 2A2. That means if there is a majority vote of yes to approve the request, the board will move on to item 2A2. However, if the board votes no, the board will not move on to item 2A2. This means the item is essentially withdrawn. Are there any questions from the board related to my explanation? I don't see any lights and I don't see any motions to ask questions. So, Pat, please call the first speaker.
Trina Tudrick, followed by Jim Gallagher, followed by Lee Gwenver.
Hi, my name is Trina Tudrick. I've been a part of this community since 1993. My daughter Tressa graduated Chino Hills High School in 2011, was a sports anchor for both NBC and CBS in Phoenix, and a two-time Emmy recipient. My son Mikey graduated in 2012 and is an IT coder. My youngest Marcus will be graduating this year with a dual degree in high school and ROP cosmetology, completing 1,600 hours and preparing for his state and licensing tests. So to the many teachers in our district, I gratefully say thank you. I have also in the past brought to your attention a bill that would have mandated healthcare facilities found to be giving kindergartners pelvic exams, AB 1363. You voted a resolution condemning and informing our state capitol that we would not agree. So for that, I'm grateful and I thank you. Tonight, I stand before you, regardless of your values, moral convictions, political stands, liberal or conservative, or even religious choice or not, on something we all can agree on, something we can all stand together, something we can all be united on. That is, we will not ever or allow and agree to the murder of babies once delivered, let alone perinatal, defined as it stands up to 28 days after delivery, that is being born. This, my friends and school district board members, is murder without consequence. I'm officially requesting that a resolution be brought to vote against AB 2223, against infanticide of any kind or any such crafted repackaging, rewriting of this bill in the foreseen future. As a community that you represent by our votes, our individual votes, the value of our future students is and should always be your utmost concern. I also, for the record, am putting Sacramento on notice that any elected official, you can and will be replaced for agendizing the murder of babies. As a believer, our Bible says in Psalms 1:6, the Lord watches over the way of the just, but the way of the wicked leads to ruin. We can all agree this is truly one of the most egregious pieces of legislation against humanity. The murder of an innocent, breathing, living baby. I'm asking you all to be just and lead accordingly on this National Day of Prayer. Thank you so much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you.
Jim Gallagher.
Good evening, President Gagnier, board members. staff, and also fellow residents. I'm reading a letter from a parent in the community on this, and regardless of how we feel emotionally about AB 2223, I think these points should be considered. She writes, "Board, it seems a shame that I'm writing for a second time about folks in a position of leadership that are wanting to waste precious time at school board meetings when we have reports indicating teachers are experiencing the lowest numbers in the satisfaction and the highest in burnout. We should not be allowing religious extremism or religion at all to have anything to do with the matters of classroom instruction or board business more broadly. As we all know, AB 2223 doesn't allow for infanticide, and to suggest it is clearly an attempt to stir up emotions and pander to their political and religious base. It plays with feelings and distracts from issues that actually need attention." I'm only reading this. "This should not be allowed to have any part in a school board meeting. When I became aware," she writes, "of how much influence a local church and their members were trying to have over public schools, I was appalled," she writes. "There are religious schools for a reason, and my children should not be subjected to these extremists. Freedom of religion includes freedom from religion. They should be ashamed. Their favorite book even warns." This is from the Bible. "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness." This is James chapter 3:1. Now, since I have, she writes, "Since I have 6 Chino Valley students in my family, I am unable to attend in person, but I want it recorded that this particular member of the community thinks this talking point need not be given at any time at any board meeting." So that's her point, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Lee Gwenver.
I'd like
Lee
to
Gwenver.
I'd like to remind the audience that everybody here has a right to speak, and we want to hear everybody's comments. We also have people in overflow trying to hear what's happening in the boardroom, so I respectfully request that we allow speakers to speak uninterrupted during their time.
Good evening, Superintendent Infield, Christine Gagnier, I can't pronounce your name properly either, President, school board members. My name is Lee Gagnier. I'm Chino Hill resident, and I'm glad that Jim brought up these things regarding the Constitution and all. This is why we have a Constitution class every Monday night at 6 o'clock at Archibald's with Douglas Gibbs. Really can teach us a lot about the U.S. Constitution as it was written. And it does allow for bringing these items up to redress at the school board, at the city council, at the planning commissions, in Sacramento, or over at San Bernardino at the Board of Supervisors. These are the things we need to bring up. And items like AB 2223, which is perinatal, in reality, infanticide, or murder of the unwanted children up to 28 days. The state of California already has assisted suicide to help get rid of the older folks. The state is looking at ways that we can get rid of people who are deemed unwanted, unnecessary, that don't produce enough. This is wrong. This was, as we saw in a certain movie many years ago called Soylent Green, it's coming to bear. We need you to please write this letter to Sacramento that we do not want our children that are born to be subject to murder because they're unwanted, because they have some disease or something. There are people out here who will take care of them. Our church, Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, has programs for women who are in trouble that we will give them whatever services necessary to save that child, to save that woman, to save that young lady. If they need a home for that child, we will find them a child. There are parents out here that would love to have more children. There are people who would love to be parents who can't be parents. We'll take those children. We will give them a home. We will give them life and keep them alive. And whatever it takes, we'll take care of them. So please, pass this letter, pass this agenda item, and please put this into being for Sacramento to be put on notice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonia Shaw, followed by Amy Davlin Feria, followed by Oscar Avila.
My name is Sonia Shaw, again. I thought long and hard about what to say today, but it is National Day of Prayer, and I'd rather lead us in prayer because honestly, we need prayer, and we need constant prayer continuously. So if those that would like to pray, bow your head with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you today and we thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be made for a time like this. Thank you for allowing us to come together. Thank you for bringing us together for your purpose, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to just be here and fight for these babies. Please, Lord, in heaven, please, we just ask you to remove anything that isn't of you. We constantly ask that, and that's why in my heart I know that these things are being revealed, although they make us nauseous and sick and they're evil. They're being revealed because you are allowing them to be exposed. And right now we need those things removed, Lord, and we just ask in your name that they're removed and that you continue to put protection over our children. Our children need you, Lord, more than anything. This last 2 years have shown us our children are at great risk, and we just ask that you come over and you just put your hands and your love over them, and you use us, Lord, to continue to protect them. We love you, Lord, and we will continue to do what you call us to do, regardless of the pain that people may come at us with. We know it comes with a price, and we're willing to take that price because these babies are worth every part of it, Lord. We love you with all of our hearts, and we continue to ask you just to guide us and to protect us and to protect these babies. We will do everything that we can. In your precious name, amen.
Thank you.
Amy Davlin Feria, followed by Oscar Avila, followed by Gabby Reyes.
Good evening, members of the board. I would like to commend Vice President James Na for bringing to attention to this horrific bill, AB 2223. While this bill may not immediately impact schools in the short term, your position as pillars and elected representatives of our community makes your voice one of significant importance. Beyond the financial repercussions of unrealized income from children who would potentially be slaughtered after birth, right here in our own community, the question is a moral one. It is not a question of any specific religion, but of humanity at large and whether or not we as a nation even possess a moral compass of any kind any longer. The way you choose to vote on this resolution will speak volumes as to your position on human rights, the value of human life, and the vitality or lack thereof of our nation's Constitution. As for me, I was born here in the state of California, and on my birth certificate is inscribed a date of birth, not a date of naturalization, because on my date of birth, I was deemed a citizen of the United States upon my exit from my mother's womb. As such, I was immediately endowed with the rights and protections of the Constitution of the United States. For decades, women have flocked to the United States of America from various nations around the globe to give birth here, so that at least their babies would be protected by our beautiful Constitution with the rights and freedoms guaranteed therein. It has been a common understanding that upon the first breath drawn in the USA, a person is endowed with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In Section 1 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, it is written that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. Your vote tonight is not only a vote for or against infanticide, but a vote for or against upholding our Constitution, which we swore to uphold here this evening. Make no mistake about it, this bill is blatantly unconstitutional at even a cursory glance and a grade school knowledge of civics. And should this heinous bill become a law, it will undoubtedly find its way to the Supreme Court to be challenged. The Buffy Wicks team's little addition of pregnancy-related causes tacked on to perinatal death has not in the least assuaged the grotesqueness of the intent of AB 2223. It is intentionally vague so as to invite the broadest brush of judicial interpretation and thereby create precedents for all future cases, no matter how unconstitutional and unlawful it is. So the question remains, what side of history do you want to be on? The side that ignorantly approves of a bill fraught with ambiguity, legal doublespeak, and flagrant constitutional infringements bound to be discovered and overturned at the highest court in the land? Or are you going to act wiser than the radical state legislatures and call this bill for what it is? Illegal endorsement of first-degree murder and mafia-style coercion against the coroners and law enforcement officers who would face a $25,000 fine should they investigate such deaths. I urge the members of this board to decry AB 2223 as the egregiously murderous bill and affront to the Constitution that it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oscar Avila, followed by Gabby Reyes, followed by Benjamin Maxwell.
Okay, good evening once again, board members. It breaks my heart to even have to, I never thought in my life, I've been alive 51 years, never thought that I would ever have to come in here and defend abortion, but most of all, like full-term abortion, maybe even like post-abortion, or, infanticide, they want to call it. But, we're in a place in history now for our country, and if you look at other countries, Germany, Europe, a lot of countries that have suffered tragically, things that we've done in the U.S. to people of color, minorities and stuff, how we experimented with people, there's a 14th Amendment for that reason, that separate equal is not the same, that you can't separate somebody, that you can't distinguish from one race to another race of color, so we know that there's a history teacher here that would know that at one time in this country we judge people on the color of their skin, right, and because you were a certain color, you couldn't go to this school, you couldn't drink that water. So now we're literally attacking the least of the people in this country. We're attacking the babies. We're attacking people that are not even born, that are born, they're babies. If I have a child and if I leave my child and I don't feed him, social service comes after me, I go to jail, I get, so now we're making the bill that will make it not illegal to by accident or by on purpose to kill a child. Let a child starve to death. Let a child die. You could have somebody say, well, I was stressed out or I'm having depression or something, and you could literally ignore your child and the child could die and nothing would happen to that person. So as a parent, when I brought my daughter home 14 years ago, I knew that I had to carry her, I had to put her in a car seat, it had to be the proper car seat, it had to be legally okayed by the CHP, I had to be so careful because that was my daughter, right? But now we're talking about eliminating these rights, eliminating these things that cover our kids and protect them, right? By making a law that would make it not illegal to have your child die for whatever reason within 20-some days. That's ridiculous, And I know we've heard people say that somebody wrote a letter. That's a bunch of hogwash. If anybody has a real problem with us fighting for life or talking about, the sanctity of life for a child, they would be here, right? So anybody that comes up and says, I had a letter from a member, that's a bunch of baloney. It's lies. So you gotta stop lying, Jim. So it's a bunch of lies. Nobody that had a heart for a child or a heart for something that's so important, they would come here. Right? And I'm coming here not because I want to, because I have to. I could be watching a game or something, But I'm here because I'm asking you to be our voice, protect our children, because these kids that are being born right now are gonna be in your school. They're gonna be under your care. So speak out for them now, right? Do it. If you can't do it now for the least of them, what will you do for the ones that are older? So help us now, okay? Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Gabby Reyes, followed by Benjamin Maxwell, followed by Gail Parker.
Hi. Thank you for letting me come to speak. My name is Gabby Reyes, and I'm proudly representing Chino, Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. I'm here just to speak on the sanctity of life and why I think it's so important to speak on behalf of these babies. I'm not sure what side you guys stand on, but I believe that you guys all, you're happy to be alive right now, right? Yeah. You're happy that you're breathing. I think these babies deserve life. Their lives do matter. And I really believe that this bill is evil, and I'm asking you guys to please oppose this bill. I'm in opposition, and I'm asking you guys to please send a letter and vote with your heart. Please, I want to, if you guys know this song, I'd like you guys to just sing this song with me. It's a children's song, and this is for the children who have been lost because of abortion, and the children that will be lost if this bill passes. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Psalms 127:3 says, children are a gift from God, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Benjamin Maxwell. Benjamin Maxwell, followed by Gail Parker, followed by Howard Parker.
Thank you for having me. My name is Benjamin David Maxwell. I'd like to start by thanking James Na for bringing this to the board. He's being a faithful watchman by doing so, bringing this evil to the light, and giving the members of the board the opportunity to stand together with the rest of the citizens here locally and also in California. And oppose AB 2223. We collectively plead with the board to use the power that has been given to you by the members, by the citizens that are out here, to vote and bring a resolution stating that you oppose AB 2223. I promise you that a resolution will allow us to be able to see where you all stand, especially when we talk so fervently about educating children and representing the individuals that you all teach and send out into the world. But first remember that it starts in the womb. It starts in women's bellies. When men and women come together, we make those babies and we send them to you all and trust you all to teach our children. I've heard a lot of things today that are absolutely disgusting about the things that are going on inside the school districts. And so to the letter that was sent to you all, speaking about how we shouldn't be putting our religion or our morality onto the children in the school. That's actually what's exactly being put onto children in the school, is they're being taught a morality. They're being we're legislating morality, and I would just like to remind you all again that for the voted members in, that just like individuals that vote for that legislation, if you all don't go along with this and help us pull on the reins to bring the school system back to what we need it to be, where it's teaching education, and we're raising these individuals to be productive members into our society. Again, starting in the womb, that weight will be shown on the ballots, and so I just want to urge you all again, plead you all again, to come together with James Na and vote for bring a resolution to vote to oppose AB 2223. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Parker, followed by Howard Parker, followed by Wendy Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Gail Parker, and I just want to say hello. Thank you for having us. And I grew up in Chino. I grew up in the school system here in Chino, and I am here to support James Na. And I am so grateful for your bravery and your courageous stance in opposing AB 2223. No one has the right to choose who lives and who dies. God is the author of life, and I am so grateful. Are you grateful that you're alive? I am. So I'm asking you to take a stand against AB 2223 and let God choose who lives.
Thank you.
Howard Parker, followed by Wendy Rodriguez, followed by Christy Hurst.
Hello, I'm Howard Parker, and I'm just here to vote my support for this resolution to oppose AB 2223. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy Rodriguez, followed by Christy Hurst. followed by Agnes Mazur.
Hi, my name is Wendy Rodriguez, and I just wanted to say I'm supporting James Na in the resolution in the opposing to the Assembly Bill of 2223. Also, I wanted to address, which I wasn't going to, but the Bible that was read about James, if you read down more on it too, it says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitterness, envy, and self-seeking in your heart, do not boast and lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, demonic. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Now the fruits of righteousness is shown in the peace by those who make peace." So we do have a right, to come before you to sit there and say we do oppose 2223 because it's right and it affects all of us in California. And so, and also I want to thank you, James, too, for what you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Christy Harris, followed by Agnes Mazur, followed by Amy Feria.
Good evening, President Gagnier, Dr. Enfield, Board, and Cabinet. In honor of Teacher Appreciation Week, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to the district's educators, both the teachers I've had the privilege of working with and those who are positive forces in my children's lives, to whom I am forever grateful for. I believe there's nothing more influential in my kids' educational experience than their teachers, and because of this, I will always support our educators and fight for them. If you care about kids, then you have to care about teachers, period. Research shows that teachers are the single most important classroom factor in a child's learning environment. Dr. John Hattie synthesized over 50,000 studies, finding that the greatest influence on student learning progression is highly experienced, inspired, and passionate teachers and school leaders. Teacher attraction and retention is critically important, and we must acknowledge that there is no longer a looming crisis of a teacher shortage. The crisis is now. We need to make sure our district is doing everything they can to retain our teachers while also attracting high-quality teachers for the future. The district should be using our energy to support our teachers. Support that doesn't blame teachers for the perceived problems with society, but instead acknowledges that most teachers care immensely about making a positive impact on their students and community. Support that looks like not being publicly vilified at school board meetings by school board members and a loud minority population. It is no secret that having access to a highly qualified teacher in an appropriate class size will meet our students' needs better than being in a huge class with an untrained teacher. And this is what will happen when we can't hire enough teachers. But that is not what we are doing. Instead, there's a resolution on the agenda tonight that has absolutely nothing to do with students, education, or running a school district. An incredibly divisive agenda item that will certainly not encourage new teachers to apply here. Instead of focusing on things that actually impact our kids, we are talking about abortion. Once again, Mr. Na, you are wasting the district's time, energy, and resources that should be going towards our students, my kids, the community's children. School boards have no authority over abortion, or does it have anything to do with running a school district? As presented by Mr. Na, the rationale for this resolution includes twisting logic to make abortion about our kids and our schools, but AB 2223 has absolutely nothing to do with our teachers, our students, or this school district. Mr. Na and Mr. Cruz, you must stop using our school district for your personal, political, and religious agendas. Tonight, I am calling on our board majority to put a stop to this resolution right now. We need to send a message to those trying to divide our community. We will not allow them to divert resources from our kids any longer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agnes Mazur, followed by Amy Feria, followed by Patricia Garcia.
Good evening, President Gagnier, Board, Dr. Enfield, Cabinet, and Community. During this Teacher Appreciation Week, I want to express my immense gratitude to the teachers in this district. My daughter has thrived this year in her elementary school, and that is because of the hard work, dedication, and care of her teacher, the rest of the staff, and the administration. However, I am very concerned that our district is not doing enough to attract and retain teachers. In the last 2 years, teachers have had to shift from in-person to virtual back to in-person instruction. Throughout it all, they have had to manage long work hours and immense stress while also having to take care of their own families. This year, students arrived with many academic, social, and emotional needs. At the same time, there has been a shortage of substitute teachers. At my daughter's school, I saw administrators covering classes all day and teachers supervising both their own class and those of sick colleagues. These difficult working conditions have taken a great toll on teachers. According to the Labor Department, 143,000 education sector workers quit their jobs in December alone. In January, according to an NEA survey, over half of teachers planned to leave the profession sooner than they expected, and 90% had experienced burnout. At the same time, according to the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education, the number of college students planning to pursue teaching continues to fall. With the looming teacher shortage, we need to make sure that Chino Valley is a place where teachers want to work. We are competing with surrounding districts, many of which provide better pay and benefits. Also, this district wastes a lot of time and resources on divisive political issues that cause it to negatively stand out from other districts. This academic year alone, a board member introduced an anti-transgender resolution that would have gone against California law. Chino Valley Parent Group threatened teachers with legal action for following mask mandates that teachers had no control over. At the last board meeting, a school board candidate introduced the non-issue of CRT. And today there is a resolution about AB 2223 that has absolutely nothing to do with education, but is sure to inflame passions and create conflict. Continue. As a parent watching all of this, I often wonder at teachers' almost superhuman ability to tune out all this noise, show up every day, and give so much of themselves to their students. However, I think it is foolish to continue to take their dedication for granted. There are other districts and other professions that would love to employ them. The teacher shortage is a serious problem, so instead of members playing politics, I hope that this board can work on real issues. We need our district to be a positive work environment with a clear plan for attracting and retaining the talented and dedicated professionals that our children so need.
Thank you.
Amy Feria, followed by Patricia.
Really briefly, we're at the 30-minute mark, so I just want to make sure we have consensus to hear the majority of the remainder of the speakers.
I have consensus.
There's consensus. Continue.
Amy Feria, followed by Patricia Garcia, followed by Tiffany Guerrero. Amy Feria. Patricia Garcia. Patricia Garcia. Tiffany Guerrero.
Greetings, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the voiceless. I do want to commend James Na and Andrews Cruz for taking a stand for the voiceless. I want to challenge Leah Fellows, Grace Park, Richard Rideout, Sandra Chen, Joe Schaffer, Donald Bridge, Norm Enfield, Christina Gagnier, and then I want to challenge Esther Kim, and Patricia Kaler and Gregory Statura. I'm addressing each one of you personally. I want it to be known under heaven, and I know hell can hear too, that each one of you, I am challenging you to take a stand against AB 2223. These two teachers that just spoke against making awareness for our children to know right from wrong. Since when does teaching our children to know right from wrong is none of their business? Of course it is. It's every mother's business, every teacher's business. And teachers will want to come to a district that takes a stand for the children. That's absolutely ridiculous. Of course we're going to want to take a stand, and of course it's a children's business. And of course, if this passes, you're not going to end up with any students. But it's ridiculous to say something like that. Now we're calling what's right wrong, and we're calling what's wrong right. In the Bible, it reads, on Proverbs 31:8 and 9. Speak out on the behalf of the voiceless and for the rights of all who are vulnerable. Speak out in order to judge with righteousness and defend the needy and the poor. We need to have a voice. You were elected. Do you remember? I helped one of my girlfriends that graduated from APU to get elected on the school board. I've been through law school. You have been appointed under heaven, under God. In Romans, it talks about that God establishes the government. You have passed the test. You have been in your seat because God has allowed it. I want you to remember that today, people have come before you from different backgrounds, but we are calling for action. We want you to be brave like James Na and Andrew Cruz. This is California. I was born and raised here, and I'm proud of my state. I've been tempted to move to Tennessee, to Texas, to different parts of the United States, but you know what? I love California. This is where I'm born. I bought my own home here. I beg you, does it take for me to get on my knees? I beg you to oppose 2223. Rise up. Go against what is evil. Take a stand. I know that inside of you, you ran your course, right, to sit where you're at. You did what you had to. You worked hard for it. Speak out for the voiceless. It's in your hands. Speak to your friends. Speak to your colleagues. You have a lot of good opportunities to speak to different people about it. I'm going to close with a prayer.
Thank you.
Dear Lord, I just
Thank
pray
you.
that you would please use these people to go against AB 2223. Father
Thank
God, I
you.
pray that you would open the heavens, charge legions of angels against all this demonic activity against AB 2223. Father, give them dreams at night. Let them know that their position is valuable, Father God, and you can use them, Father God. But let it be said that they were challenged here before you, Father Lord, that they would take a stand against AB 2223. God bless
Thank
you. In
you.
Jesus' mighty name I pray, amen.
Lourdes Doyle. Lourdes Doyle. Lourdes Doyle. Lourdes Doyle.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. Hi, everybody. My name is Lourdes Doyle. I live in Southern California. And I thank you all for listening to us and our opinions. And I am against AB 2223. And I wasn't planning to speak. I just signed up literally like 10 minutes ago. So, of course, I'm praying that what I say is from the Lord. But what I would like to say first is that we went to Sacramento a week and a half ago when they had the other one in, at the Capitol. And what I got to say, we listened and we were there all day. But I did get to go forward and share. And what I said, I had my husband and our two little kids. Our kids are, I would show you a picture, but I gave my husband my phone. They're 7 and 8 years old, and they're beautiful, they're precious. And what we said to the panel that was there was, because somebody let them live, we adopted them. Okay, we've been married 21 years and we didn't have kids, and the Lord blessed us with these two because someone let them live. Please don't let them kill these kids, because there's people like us that want to give them homes and want to give them a family and love. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing I'd like to say is, as we've been telling people about this bill, and we are telling waitresses and store clerks and people, strangers, we're telling everyone, and everyone is shocked. Mouths are falling open. They are, oh, you're just talking about abortion. And we're like, no, this is not about abortion. This is about murder after they're born. I think it's 28 days. I'm not exactly sure. And I did read some of the bill, the literature by Buffy Wicks. God help that woman. But she's going to have a millstone around her neck when her time comes. So we just pray for her salvation. But what I wanted to say was,
We love people. We love life. God, and because God loves life, and we are made in His image. So I'm also the caregiver for my handicapped brother, who's older than me. He's 72. And prior to that, we had a handicapped dog named Leo. And we found him as a stray. He was athletic and strong, but then he had a ruptured disc and ended up in a wheelchair. Please look up his story. Leo, a very special dog. But we don't think you should put anyone down. And this is what I've been saying to people, to strangers, is we had 5 cats and a dog. The dog lived 7 more years in a wheelchair. And because he's alive, every life is valuable to God. And it should, and that's assuming that everyone's a Christian, but I know not everybody is. So we are just reaching out to morality. What I've told people is they're shocked to think that people would want to kill babies that have already been born. And I know for Christians, we believe that life begins at conception, not after birth. But
Thank you.
that's it. Okay. But
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. God bless you.
Michael Antamarino.
Hi, board members. My name is Michael Altamirano. I live in Pomona. I go to Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. I'm part of the Love Life ministry. And when we go to Pomona and Planned Parenthood, okay, those people that walk in, like if it's a dispensary, like you go to a marijuana shop, they have no conscience of whatever they're doing is serious. And if you put AB 2223 on this and approve this, just imagine what you're going to have, okay? Roe v. Wade is not going to affect California. And you saw what LA, how they were doing what they were doing to LA. And our law enforcement, that's a disgrace, okay? Just imagine years down the line, those people that want to kill a baby after born, 28 to 30 days after birth, they're just going to take it back like if they're returning something. Those people that think ungodly, they're going to do that. And I see them out there, they just walk in like nothing, and they don't know the repercussions of what happens after they do this. It's so simple. Just be responsible. It's so simple. Be responsible. We're all adults. If we do that, and we actually have to, do what we do, and then we actually have a girl get pregnant, whose fault is it? It's not the kids. It's not. And I worked with people that were girls, and they would say, "Oh, I got an abortion," boasting it. Now you have them on TikTok doing it. That upsets me. And they're gonna cry about it because it's not gonna. Roe v. Wade's not gonna affect it here. But if you put AB 2223 on here, you're gonna have kids going in out of the womb. That's murder. That's a death cult. And my grandmother, she was blind and she had no legs. But she said every day she would not give her life up because she enjoyed every day until she had a heart attack. So I urge you and I plead with you to do not go for it. Oppose it. God bless you.
Thank you.
The final speaker is Nicole Vicario.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Vicario. I wanted to say that I was in support of James Na. I do have a bit of a story. My mother was a teen mother. She had me when she was 15 years old. If she did not have me, I would not have been a student in this district. I was a teen mother. I was pregnant at 15. My son is 25 years old. He was born and raised in the city of Chino. He graduated from Chino High in 2014. He would not have been a student in this district had I had abortion. I'm thankful that my grandmother instilled in me that not to have an abortion and the importance of giving my son life, or else I wouldn't have this beautiful 25-year-old man in front of me and all of the things that he's accomplished in his life as well. It stops there. My kids were not teen parents, thank God. I have 3 graduates from the district, and it's just that This does, I do want to address to somebody that was standing up here saying this does not affect our students in the district. It absolutely does, because we have young women in this district that become pregnant and that look to us for guidance, and they look to us for answers. And I personally know students that are no longer in this district, former students, that had abortions at the advice of their parents, of their grandparents, of their community, and now regret that and go through go through counseling and go through things now to this day because of that decision that was forced upon them. So this absolutely does affect our district, because if we stop having children, then children stop coming through the district. And like I said, I wouldn't have been a student in this district. My son wouldn't have been. And I went on to have 7 more children after that. None of them would have been in this district either.
Thank you. So to clarify, we're first going to take a motion on placing this item on the floor. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So a motion from Mr. Na and a second from Mr. Cruz. Item 2A1 is now open for discussion. Mr. Na.
Yeah, let me make a clear statement here why I brought up this resolution. I appreciate our parents who had shown up tonight's meeting, even the people in overflow room, thank you. I know that everyone's busy at this time, but you made a point to be here. I made this resolution because it's the devil. Devil always loses. Because I love kids. I love children. I love our students. They came here to take our children away, our students away. I had a conversation with our district staffs. When we're selecting our when we are selecting or recruiting teachers and staff members, we pray that this person would love children first. It's a common sense. Adults without love for children should not be in business of education. So are the board members. If you don't love children, you should not be in it. Who would not react if someone would come to your backyard trying to steal your lovely puppies? Everybody would fight for it. I'm fighting for my students, my future students. Then who's going to be a kindergartner? Who's going to be a first grader, second, and soon junior high school? And they couldn't wait to be 16, and then they'll be 18 years old. That's why I'm fighting this bill. This bill would kill our children. Now, second point. I brought this resolution to help our stressed out, underpaid teachers and staff members. Here's the logic. The lights that we have on, the computer system that we have to purchase for our children, or the insurance coverage that we want to provide for our staff members has to be paid for by the funds. It's the money game. We receive funds through the state according to the number of students attending our schools, ADA. If a state wants to take our children's away, then what? We will receive less funds. I'm guessing one student translates into $10,000 a year. Supposedly one student would go to
our elementary school system to junior high and high school, that is 12 years. That's $120,000. If we would lose through this bill 10 students, 100 students, we are going to lose millions of dollars. Therefore, we cannot provide enough funds to hire our good teachers and support them in their classrooms. So let's be logical and have a common sense back. We need to protect our children because our education is all about children. And here's the deal. How could state tell us that you could kill a live baby, but you are not capable of teaching them as a parent? That is absurd. Such a disrespect. So I like to have, and are grateful that you parents had shown up tonight, because you care. You care for our children. And there might be some teachers that misinformed, but if they know the truth, I'm sure they're going to oppose this bill 100% as well, because this is about our education. It has a direct involvement to our district funding. When LA Times reported that the public school system had lost 110,000 students just in 1 year, I tried to calculate, and my calculator didn't work, all these numbers, because there were too many zeros. But 110,000 students translated into like $1.1 billion of funds. It's amazing, the games they're trying to play. They said, don't tell me what to do with my body. And guess what? I don't need the mom to come to our class because we only serve K to 12. We need the children to come to our class and fund our public system. So we need everyone's help in opposing this bill. And by doing it, you are going to make our schools coming back to normalcy, where there's a respect for life. Again, if, and I can assure you, I have walked many campuses, our teachers love our children. And because of that, we also have our responsibilities as educators. We are called mandated reporters. Guess what? And when you see a little child with little bruises, we are obligated to report. But this, what Bill says is that you could have a dead kid and there will be no investigations, no report, nothing. I would have a fender bender driving a car, and we want to find out what had happened. Your insurance company wants to know what had happened to your bumper. But somebody has been killed, and we don't have to report anything, no investigations. And then our school district, our school district is concerned, we're losing 500 students every year. That is lots of money. It translates into $5 million a year. And state wants to take more kids away from us. And guess what? The dead children don't count for our attendance. So we must have common sense and defend our children. Thank you.
We have several requests to speak from the board. I'm just going to name the order. Mr. Bridge, Mr. Cruz, then Ms. Kim. Mr. Bridge.
hearing a lot of the comments tonight, and I know this is highly, highly volatile. I mean, we've seen it at the state level. Someone said that they were up there protesting. I saw what went on at the Capitol, and that takes a lot to do that. And you have to put pressure on legislators that way to do that. The one thing that I have trouble seeing is what this board does and the effect that it has on anything up in Sacramento regarding this. If you look at, what's going on this week, I don't have to tell you what's going on this week. You've all heard it. You've all seen it. Yet it kind of amazes me that the biggest story among some people is not the actual draft paper, but the fact that it was leaked. And I'm thinking, so we're not going to look at the draft paper and figure that that's probably what's going to happen in June? Many predicted that. I just don't see where this has the kind of impact that you all want. And that's my take on it. So I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Cruz?
You do matter now. Local matters now, especially for the next decade, 20 years from now. And in terms of that leak, that was meant to threaten the court. That was meant for violence. And from what? Let's face it, from the left. They play really dirty, knowing the fact that this was going to be a state-by-state decision. So you got to be local. You know that your worldviews are going to be persecuted. So you have to start getting ready for the future because we're in a new world now. And we have to prepare our kids for the future. We'll try our best. But America's not going back, and you know that. The whole world isn't. A lot of extreme things are occurring now, and they're going to push real hard. And so when it comes to local, it's going to be needed big time. And, I want to say something. I want to say, just as was my spidey sense, this, Mr. Na's agenda, it was difficult to be placed. In my personal opinion, I think there could have been a Brown Act issue. It could have happened, and this went forward. If you wonder why it's a two-step process, let me read this to you. The background. At the April 21st, 2022 meeting of the Board of Education, Member James Na requested an item be placed on the agenda to oppose Assembly Bill 2223, Reproductive Health, and Abstract AB 2223, authorized by Democratic Assemblyman Buffy Wicks of Oakland, intends to abolish California requirement that coroners investigate perinatal death. The purpose of this bill is said to ensure that no Californian be investigated, prosecuted, or incarcerated for ending a pregnancy or experiencing a pregnancy loss. However, Mr. Na believes that AB 22223 extends beyond that narrative and undermines the future of public education by contributing to the state of an already declining enrollment problem. While on its face, AB 2223 is presented as a protection for women ending a pregnancy or experiencing a pregnancy loss, the potential long-term consequences have gone unaddressed. Mr. Na stated that declining birth rates, including ending a pregnancy, results ultimately in declining enrollment. State funding for public education is tied to enrollment. Decline enrollment means decreased revenues and associated fiscal challenges. Legislative that undermines public education, even if unintended, and cannot go unchallenged. Mr. Na believes that this is the case with AB 223. However, on April 26, 2022, while reviewing the request, Board President Gagnier determined that the issue is not within the jurisdiction of the board, that Mr. Na thereafter, pursuant to the bylaw, requested the board takes an action to determine whether the item should be placed on the agenda. Today's vote is whether or not to consider voting to oppose, a statement in opposition to Bill 223. It's a resolution without any power to make legislative decision, but it's about a character and believing in life. Let me tell you about life. Life begins at consumption. That's where you begin to appreciate life. And if you're not at that level, I guarantee you the mask is going to come back again, and the mandatory vaccine is going to come back. And let me tell you, this will go far. And what is worthy of life? 7, 28 days, 3 months, 5 years, 8 years, senior citizen, the disabled, they're going to take it all away. And this is so important to have this communication with local people here, discussing real issues so everybody can see what's going on, so these things can stop. And it's so important to send a message to Sacramento that our community knows that this matters. And we're hell-bent that this law never comes into being in this area. And the right board members, a lot of things will change. You have to, because things are going to get real messy and dirty. Yes. And so you're right. This will be a defining moment to determine board members. And you oust these board members, because if they're not at that level to value your kids or the value of the community kids, that means they got to go. They got to go, okay? Because they're endangering the future of our country and of our children just because of this. We tolerate so much BS. It's getting so bad. So at the local level, that's how changes are going to start happening. You're going to see splits of counties moving away, because I'm going to be real honest. There's been a lot of cheating going on in California, because I don't believe California people are willing to deal with this kind of crap that's occurring in California. Cheating has resulted in this bad policies. And it is time to take over. And, it's going to happen. It really is. But, in the long run, there will be violence. And I do expect that they will vote no, these three. I really do. And something? That's good. Because, honestly, if they voted yes, we'd all calm down and get all relaxed. Something? It's better off it's like this, because this is serious business. Because your worldview, it's going to be persecuted, and they ain't going to like it one bit. And I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to say one thing, too. This is going after 2 years, AB 223. You know that they're going to be paying women to have babies, and take them to some safe place, comfortable, to get all ripped up and getting all those body parts, all those organs. Because that's how it is. Everything gets consumed right down to the gutter, everything. And those that support, those are the ones that get destroyed first. Because those that have courage, trust me, evil admires courageous people. It is the weaklings that die first. It always the case. Yeah, so the community, you keep up what you're doing. You're going to have to. We're all going to have to. Thank you.
Ms. Kim, then Mr. Na, then Mr. Schaffer. Ms. Kim.
All right, I first want to recognize all of your passions. I recognize all of your voices. Thank you for being here and speaking to us. And I also recognize that amidst the recent Supreme Court revelations regarding Roe v. Wade and the progress of AB 2223, many of us, including students, are developing strong opinions on the topic of reproductive health. However, the school board meeting is not the place to be having this conversation. The logic that preserving reproductive rights, which in fact saves the lives of childbearing people, will significantly impact the student populace or school funding, or even the notion of monetizing lives, is utter nonsense. Not to mention that the opinion of a school board on a matter of public health will have a significant impact on the outcome of this state bill. And I'm sure all of you are very aware of that, including Mr. Na. This isn't the first time that we've had to deal with this issue. My peers and I have time to time been disappointed by the actions of some of our board members, to the point where we're no longer surprised by these nonsensical resolutions that pop up every few meetings. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Because our funding is predicated not on reproductive rights, but on the actions of our board members. We were very, very close to a lawsuit back in November. Even separated by political affiliation or personal beliefs, I think we're all unified in our desire to serve our students. But we are failing to do so with a resolution that completely oversteps our boundaries as a school board and does a disservice to our students. I understand that many of you have strong opinions on this issue, but I ask you to separate those opinions so we can focus on the pressing issues that directly affect our students. So please, take your concerns to the appropriate settings and the appropriate authorities rather than our school board. And finally, as my term is soon coming to an end, I want to thank you. I want to thank you.
Excuse me. This is our student board member. This is one of the students in our school district. We've let other students speak this evening, and they have not been interrupted. Can we just please let her finish?
Thank you, Ms. Gagnier. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve alongside you, and I also want to remind you of our purpose as educational leaders to focus on the needs of our students. Thank you. That'll be it.
Mr. Na.
This is a perfect example of why you need to talk to your children. Okay? This is an appointment for us to see and hear what happens when you leave them alone with the wrong people. Okay, so we'll thank for that and thank for real experience, because the things have been changed. While we were growing up, we had common sense. We had common sense. We were told what to think, now we're being told. And today, people often say, what is common is not common anymore. We need to place ourselves in a real deep thinking. I had shared with one of our parents just a moment ago. Certainly when our air conditioner is blowing not a cold air, but a hot air, something's going on, something's not right. But we have been complacent. We have been blindly trustful that somebody will fix it for us. But look at tonight. If you leave your children alone, astray alone, they could make the judgments, or they'll be brainwashed by the wrong people. And you could tell, there's lack of parental involvement. So through your life, through your experience, through love and your care, have and real moments with your children at home. They have been placed for us for a reason, and that is our obligation. But in another note, we need to start this common sense movement growing. It will start in Chino Valley. It might start this very tonight, that we have been touched. We have been forced to bring back common sense in California. So this is just a beginning for something big. And each one of you who had attended tonight's meeting or watching on TV or your computer system, it is your calling to stand up tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Schaffer.
Thank you. First, Mr. Na, whether you agree with Ms. Kim or not, it's inappropriate for you as a sitting board member to question her family values and the way she was raised and her interactions with her parents. It's not our place, okay? Next, the motion before us, or the item before us that we're discussing, is whether or not this falls under the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. Not whether we agree with the legislation or disagree with it. Whether we think that it falls under our jurisdiction. Those are two completely separate questions. And it's time that this board and this district get back to focusing on what's at hand, which is educating our students. With that being said, I do not feel this falls under the subject matter jurisdiction of this board, and I make a motion to deny the request.
Okay, there's now an active motion on the floor to deny the request. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, second from Mr. Bridge. So a motion from Mr. Schaffer and a second from Mr. Bridge. Just to clarify what's happening, there's been a motion on the floor to deny this item, to deny the jurisdiction over item 2A2 on the agenda, just to be clear. We will now have comments, questions, and discussion on that motion. Any comments, questions, or discussion on this motion to deny? Seeing none, I will go ahead and take a roll call vote. Mr. Bridge.
On the motion to deny, yes.
Replace.
Mr. Cruz. Mr. Na.
Nay.
Mr. Schaffer.
Yes.
Replace.
And I'm a yes.
Replace.
Preferential.
Yes.
Okay. This motion carries with a 3-2 vote, with preferential also voting yes. Moving on our agenda to item 2A3, Resolution 2021-2022-77, reaffirming Chino Valley Unified School District's commitment to a safe and positive environment for all students and stakeholders. I'm going to go ahead and take a 2-minute break if people want to exit the room. You shouldn't never have anybody talk to you like that. I'm sorry.
You will be replaced. Yeah. Yep. Shame on Schaefer. Oh my God.
She was born at 29 weeks. She wouldn't be here if that bill passed. She was born at 29 weeks. And I didn't let them do anything. Okay? This little child. You're gonna have it in your conscience. Miss Esther Kim?
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Again, before we reconvene, I want to remind everybody we're a school district, and this is a student board member. She is in student leadership at her high school. She was not elected. We do a rotation of the members, and please let's be respectful both from the dais and in the audience. We'll reconvene in just a moment. Two minutes. We'll be reconvening the meeting in 1 minute. We will reconvene once we have quorum. We are now back at quorum with 3 members of the board sitting at the dais. Moving on to item 2A3, Resolution 2021-22-77, reaffirming Chino Valley Unified School District's commitment to a safe and positive environment for all students and stakeholders. Board Member Christina Gagnier recommends the board adopt Resolution 2021-2022-77, reaffirming Chino Valley Unified School District's commitment to a safe and positive environment for all students and stakeholders. Are there any speakers?
There are. On item 2A3, Richard Wales, followed by Anita Ramos, followed by Linda Ramos.
I'd like to first say that I support this in concept, but I read through it a lot and I have a lot of questions. And we've gone through this before. So it's important that stakeholders know that the board is committed to keeping all stakeholders free of an environment where they would experience any form of harassment or intimidation, that the board will be a place that encourages trust and safety for all of its stakeholders. It was my impression that this was supposed to be more of a student-oriented document. So I'm kind of curious of how you're defining harassment, intimidation, safe, positive. And throughout the document, stakeholders are mentioned a little bit more than students. And I'd like to know, how do you plan on encouraging trust and safety? On page 12, it states, and whereas the district must go beyond its legally required obligation and take active steps to assure. Why now? Why not 3+ years ago? These legal obligations, is this referring to the DOE report and the resolution agreement? Is it legislative laws? And a question I have is, we have a parent-student handbook that is very thorough. Why is that potentially not enough? Goes on to state, whereas all students and stakeholders should have leadership from the Board of Education. It says should, not will, not shall. This implies that you have not been providing this before. So why is that? Goes on to state, and whereas the district must continue to build and grow a culture of trust and safety. For too many people, there is no trust. They don't feel safe. So you've got a foundation to build. Number 1, towards the end, says reaffirms its commitment to a safe and positive environment free from any form of harassment or intimidation. You want to reform a commitment that does not appear to have existed for 3+ years. So how do you plan on doing this? Number 2, the superintendent and or his designee take all actions necessary to implement the resolution. What actions? Which resolution, the DOE's or Ms. Gagnier's? Why is there not one use of the word bullying anywhere in this document? Why not? I mean, it seems to fit. So I'd like to request the board to table this, have a study session, and have a serious discussion with all stakeholders on what this means. Because there is no accountability at our schools, and sometimes there's not accountability up here. Something has got to change before something really tragic happens.
Thank you.
Anita Ramos, followed by Linda Ramos.
Thank you. I've never talked in public, but this is not even about, I wrote under, I wanted to talk about the AB 2223. So this is my daughter, she was born at 29 weeks. So if the doctor came and told me, oh, she can't, she's not gonna make it, and I say, okay, let's just do what we need to do. This little child right here would not be here. She is so special. She's 4 years old, and I am terrified for her to go to school, to public school. Okay? She's 4 years old. And the things that I have no idea what's going on in in the school district, and now that I do, I am terrified for my daughter to go to school. I will have to quit my job to homeschool her. I am blessed that I am married, but there's many single parents that don't have that opportunity to homeschool and have to send out their child to predators, because that's what it is. You're showing all reproduction to children. I don't want my daughter to be looking at those items that were shown. The lady that brought those books and that paper, when she put it up, I had to close her eyes. I don't want her looking at that. She's only 4 years old. Do any of you have children? Would you like your daughter to be exposed to that? So I have to teach my child. I have to do it. Not because I want to. I have a good job, and I'm going to have to quit my job and live on a one household income so I can educate her. And right now, I do it little by little because I'm trying to start off early, because I am terrified of giving you my child. And you know what people do? I know people want their children to go to school for a daycare, so someone can take care of their children. I want my children educated, but I don't want them to be shown those types of books, all those things that are being shown. I'm terrified. And I am going to do something. I'm going to go to the community where people don't know, minorities, people that don't even speak English, that don't know what is going on in the school board. And this is going to motivate me to do something. That I never do anything. I have never done anything, but she is my child.
Thank you. Before we move on, I just want to respectfully remind speakers that we're on item 2A3. This is a resolution that is not related to the previous resolutions on the agenda, so we're taking speakers on item 2A3.
Linda Ramos.
Yes, thank you, board members, for allowing me to be here and speak. I'm not a speaker either, but I'm going to speak today. And first of all, I want to thank Mr. Na. Thank you for your for your just commitment to our children, to the community. We're very, very blessed to have you, okay, as part of a board member. This is my little granddaughter, and I'm just going to share a little bit about, what Mother said. My children came to this school district. They graduated. He's one of them. The other one is home or working. And at the time, I was very proud of this district. I came from La Puente, which I was proud of La Puente too. But when I came here, I knew that I had made the right choice. Reading, writing, math, and some science. And, that's what they were being taught. That's what I was taught when I was growing up in school. But now, my little one right here is being taught pornography. You don't have to live. That's what we're teaching our little kids. Okay? So, are you people going to have a job when we start killing our children? Why have any more schools? Why? No need for them. So I do believe that this bill was made in hell, regardless of what anybody says. Okay, children are precious to the Lord. They're precious to us. And I know that if you people have children, they are precious to you too. Please think about what we said. And Ms. Kim, with all due respect, okay, I don't know if you're married or not. If you're not, maybe you eventually will have children. You will have the opportunity to kill your child. Now you tell me, look at me in the face. and tell me that that's okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Bridge. Can I get a second? I'll provide the second. Really briefly, as the author of this resolution, I share some sentiments with a speaker during our non-agenda items and a speaker that spoke on this item. I was not on the board at the time that this incident occurred, but having heard about it, well, after joining the board, having been aware that this is not a siloed issue, I am appalled. And we are creating a culture, and I think some of this is probably due to social media and people wanting to get attention for things and not having boundaries, but our district has, this is not a one-off. I think some people like to pretend this is a one-off. It's not. And we're seeing instances repeatedly, whether it's in student athletics or just on our campuses day to day, where people do feel intimidated and harassed. And my purpose in bringing this is that, we did receive, and just to give some background, the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights conducted an investigation into an incident. As a result of that investigation, and these documents are all publicly available, they have prescribed the district undertake certain tasks over the next year or so in order to meet requirements, including training of student athletes, among other things. The question I had immediately was, I don't know why we're not providing trainings for all of our students and staff and parents about these issues. I think that it's really easy to dismiss some of this bullying as happening online, or that it's just kids being kids. It's not. It's very pervasive. It is having long-standing effects, and this is something that's been going on in this district for years. I don't want anybody in this district feeling like they cannot file a complaint and be heard in terms of fearing harassment or intimidation. I don't want anybody being talked out of filing a complaint because they've been harassed or intimidated. But more importantly, we need to go before that process happens and ensure that we are creating a culture here where we do not have students engaging in this behavior, where we do not have staff engaging in this behavior. And I take the questions and comments of our speaker, Mr. Wales, on this item with due care. I do think that we can define these terms more precisely, and I'm open to either tabling this resolution, which I'm going to suggest in just a moment, and either bringing this back with amendments or having a study session to discuss the contents of this resolution so that this document, life is breathed into this document that's reflective of current community concerns. I really want to make sure that we have leadership in this area. We have invested a lot of resources into mental health post-pandemic. My question is why we were not investing these resources prior to the pandemic. The student mental health crisis is not new. I think students in particular in a school environment sometimes do not trust authority or are afraid to approach authority if an issue is happening. And it's our job and it's incumbent on us to create an environment where, one, students are aware of the impacts of their actions, our staff is appropriately trained, and that when we find bad actors in our community, we take care of this and these incidents don't happen. And that's only going to happen if this district really has a true commitment. So, being a lawyer, I deal with OCR and other agencies pretty frequently. It's one thing to adhere to the letter of something that a federal agency tells you to do and you cross your T's and dot your I's, but that's not the spirit of what should be happening. And so I really wanted to bring this resolution, one, to have it on the record that this board reaffirms this district's commitment, or anew, if those who believe that this was never a commitment of the district, that we're on record that this is something we support. I think from an application perspective, we also need to, because sometimes even with the best resources and best supports, incidents happen. We need students to know, we need staff to know, any stakeholders whatsoever who experience intimidation or harassment on our campuses, at our district facilities, they really need to know how to report and that they're going to be heard and that a thorough investigation will be conducted. I feel like that's the environment of trust that I want to create, is that people know if something happens, they don't have to rely on themselves to address it. They know there's a process in place, and they'll be supported through that process, and that process will be trustworthy. I will pause here for a moment to see if any of my fellow board members have comments, but I was going to motion to table this and to arrange for a study session in the beginning of June to address this issue. But I'll pause for a moment. Mr. Na.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Wells, 100%. I'd like to have this also tabled and have a study session and have inputs from our parent group. It is crucial that we work together, as we have done in the past when we have not taken enough time and digest matters. We often make mistakes, and many times it was not reversible. So let's take this matter seriously and invite our stakeholders and do a study session before we could assemble a resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Na. Mr. Bridge.
Yes, I agree with pulling this item today or tabling it, however you want to phrase it, and bring it back after going through discussion in a study group. I think it is important, though, with why this is being brought forward. I was not on this board either when what occurred in the district occurred, but it's something that does need to be talked about, especially when you see particular Catholic high school in Orange County get splashed over the front pages of the paper over what has happened there. And I think it's important that we do something in regards to this, and so that people know what is going on. So if you need a substitute motion made now, Madam President, I'm willing to do that.
We have two more speakers. I will go with Mr. Cruz and then Mrs. Kim.
Dr. Enfield, if you are able to gather information, you might, over the years, how our school district compared to other school districts, around San Bernardino, how are we of safety and positive climate?
I don't have the data, Mr. Cruz, on that, but I know we deal with same issues that other districts deal with.
And also, do we have an existing protocol in place?
Yeah, there are protocols on what needs to happen if bullying is reported. Administration is to investigate and to follow up with the reports on bullying.
Yeah, I've been in education for 23 years, and a lot of, occasionally a lot of this happens from time to time. It just, when you're dealing with 30,000 kids. But however, when these incidents do occur, things are remedied within the school sites with the principal. I just want to talk a little bit about this resolution, which it got me thinking a lot about this and the motivation with this. So let me just expand, because when we do the study session, I'll tell you my reasoning. This is a very odd resolution, so I thought it was a little bit disgenuine. So I'm gonna just go ahead and bring up some ideas, bring up some topics. I'm gonna read the resolution. Resolution reaffirms Chino Valley Unified School District commitment to a safe and positive environment for all students and stakeholders. And reading all this, like the gentleman brought up, stakeholders are mentioned in this resolution a lot. And then it questioned me, does this relate to board meetings? And what does it mean regarding safe and positive environment? And then I asked myself, does this have anything to do with SB 1100? Because that's the bent that I'm gaining towards with this. Subject background, fiscal impact. Let me just read this part. It is important for all CVUSD stakeholders to know that the Board of Education is committed to keeping all stakeholders free of an environment where they would experience any form of harassment or intimidation. It is imperative that the Board of Education empower all stakeholders to come forward with any information relating to any form of harassment and intimidation, and know that the district will be a place that encourages trust and safety for all stakeholders. Now the question, are these stakeholders that are mentioned are not comfortable coming to the meeting? And something like this, Dr. Enfield, it is a little bit odd, these words that we're using, which have to be defined on what do these actually mean. Does this relate to stakeholders at the meeting? And define harassment and intimidation. I mean, I think our protocols are much more explainable than what I'm hearing this, because those are broad terms that things light up. Do we need a department? Oh, never mind, I can't say that. Why are only students mentioned just twice and stakeholders 5 times? Students are not stakeholders, but parents are. What is the purpose of mentioning stakeholders so much in this resolution? Okay. Figure 3. Also, reading all those, the whereas and so forth, I'm just going to read some of these questions. Why now? Why not 4 years ago? These legally required obligations, is this a resolution agreement or legislative laws? If legislative, why do we have to go beyond? Is the parent-student handbook not sufficient? Also, other questions. It says should or not will or shall. So maybe or maybe not. This implies you have not provided this before? Another question, you want to reaffirm a commitment that does not appear to have existed in the last 3 years, plus years. What's happening? How do we plan on doing this? So some of these questions that the gentleman brought up, these clauses, we should consider in this study session. One is, let's get clarification on what is meant and what is going on with the stakeholders. Why are they mentioned? Is this some SB 1100 type situation? Why isn't bullying mentioned? What does safe, positive harassment and intimidation mean? An accountability cost that during each board meeting, there will be a report regarding the number of complaints the board has received in this area, what is their status is, no details are requested, and violates privacy. See, I just get this funny vibe that this was actually for board meetings. An accountability clause that will explain how site admins will be held accountable for these problems when there's a failure to address them or address them properly. An accountability clause that will explain how the superintendent or his designees or the Board of Education will be held accountable for these problems when there's a failure to address them or address them properly. A clause stating that the Title IX coordinator will be analyzed these complaints to see if they are problems, if there's not really being done. A clause that people can email the board, superintendent, and there will be a response. Maybe the superintendent board meetings should start having meetings with parents whose children are struggling. So let me just, because I was doing some research, and my spidey sense that this is, I don't know, has a bent towards political. So, California Democrat says parents at school board meeting need a lesson. I would just have to say that I don't know the last time you attended a school board meeting, but I think parent involvement is essential, but someone needs to give some of these parents a lesson on how to be professional. She said that some concerns people have are individuals at school board meetings who are yelling people and screaming. That's Senator Leyva. Another senator stated that the incident shows Leyva and other Democrats having contempt for parents who exercise their rights to be heard. Democrats like Senator Leyva have nothing but contempt for parents who exercise their rights to be heard, and they're more than willing to make that contempt known. Unfortunately for Senator Leyva, those who think like her parents have no intention of being silenced. So, Dr. Enfield, you have to really work on this and find the existing protocols and compare this to what is going to be revised, because, based on my spidey sense, I think this really has to do with parents, because when you hear a lot of stakeholders, I mean, this should really emphasize students, in big time. I mean, that's our priority, is our kids. So I just look at this and I just feel like it's a political campaigning. That's the feeling I get, Dr. Enfield. So with that in mind, with the protocols that are already existing, maybe obviously we'll do better. The gentleman that spoke about this, he should definitely be part of this the study session. He's been very thorough with this, and he brought some insights that maybe it just kind of blew me away. It kind of blew me away that this may not have been a genuine thing at all. Thank you.
Ms. Kim.
All right, well, I first want to thank you, Ms. Gagnier, for bringing up this resolution, because I think it's pretty evident in our constituent comments. This concern is definitely something that we can all agree on, and it's pertinent to student needs, so again, thank you. I also want to bring up, I think an integral piece of this commitment should be student involvement. As a student, I've seen my fair share of bullying and harassment on my campus, unfortunately, and I am certain that my other peers have too. And really the key to pursuing accessible and authentic practices for all is to reach out to those who are most affected, our stakeholders, the students. And we have so many resources. We have ASB, site council, school leadership groups, our student advisory council, and the student board member position to help us out with that. So if we were to have further deliberations on this, or if we were to take further action on this, I would implore you to draw on our resources of students who are able to authentically speak on the experience and bring light to this issue, as well as just targeting more underrepresented groups. So there are some students who are, let's say, involved in ASB, there are some students who are involved in sports, and there are some students more in the back of the room. And I think those students that we need to really touch with this is those students in the back of the room who may not have access to a lot of platforms to voice their opinions, or connections where they can advocate for their needs, and we really need to reach out to them. So I also think that should be a key part of this resolution. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Really briefly, and then I'll go to Mr. Schaffer. Of course, we have to ascribe some sort of malice to bringing a resolution aiming to take out an environment of intimidation and harassment. First and foremost, I'm not even in support of SB 1100. I think it's trash. It's ridiculous. We have sat here, and you want to lob insults at me, you want to yell at us, go for it. I don't care. That's your right. That is your right to say what you want to say, how you want to say it. So there goes that. So if you want to ascribe intentions to me, I don't even support what you're talking about. I think it's ridiculous. So maybe do a little bit of research and don't speak for me in the future when you want to say why I brought something. I do want to thank some of my board members, though, because this is a conversation starter. We should be talking about this. This is exactly the kind of item we should be talking about as a board and opening it up to the community and bringing in parents and bringing in students and all other stakeholders. Why am I using students and stakeholders, which I keep using together? I'm happy to define stakeholders. I think anybody who comes in contact with CVUSD, and this is not the board, we ran for this, we signed up for this. All of us should have thick skin and be willing to sit here and hear whatever anybody has to say and just deal with it. That's what we signed up for. So this has nothing to do with the board. This has to do with I don't want people, anybody, any of our students, any of our parents, any of our teachers, any of our administrators, any of our staff, in a situation on any of our campuses where something happens and they don't feel empowered to report, but more importantly, scaling that back, I just want to make sure we have a culture where we are making sure that these incidents don't happen in the first place. So I just want to emphasize that this is very focused on what happens here day to day. This has nothing to do with our board meetings. I don't know why that even came up. Like, I am a big supporter of people coming in and saying what their piece when they come to board meetings. So I just want to make that clear. I'm excited to have a study session. I think there's some good ideas. Mr. Schaffer.
If we're going to table this item and schedule a potential study session, I'll go ahead and reserve comment for the study session.
Okay. I'm going to put a motion on the floor to table this item and to schedule a study session. Okay. Motion from Mr. Na. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bridge. We are now taking a vote on a motion to both table this item and to schedule a future study session to discuss this item and related issues. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential?
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0-0-1, and so this resolution will be tabled. All right, moving on to item 2C, Human Resources. We're now at item 2C1, Resolution 2021-2022-74, Classified School Employee Week. Semana des Empleado Clasificado de Escuela. Recommend the Board of Education adopt Resolution 2022-74, Classified School Employee Week, Semana de Empleado Clasificado de Escuela. Are there any speakers?
None.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Second.
For motion from Mr. Na and a second from Mr. Bridge. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Mr. Bridge.
For those that don't have the benefit of the agenda in front of them or watching, I'd like to quickly read the resolution. This is Resolution 2021-2022-74, Classified School Employee Week, Semana de Empleado Clasificado de Escuela. Whereas the services provided by classified school employees are an essential and integral part of an effective and efficient public school system, whereas the services provided by classified school employees meet the needs of children and teachers by maintaining a safe, clean, healthy, and positive environment for all students and employees, whereas the services provided by classified school employees strive to fulfill the district's motto of student achievement, safe schools, and positive school climate, humility, civility, and service, whereas all classified employees, regardless of their specific duties and responsibilities, are partners in providing the community with educational opportunities for all students. Now therefore be it resolved, the Chino Valley Unified School District hereby acknowledges and honors the contributions of all classified employees regarding their contributions toward achieving excellence in education in California and in the district, and designates the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as Classified School Employee Week, Semana de Empleado Clasificado de Escuela in the Chino Valley Unified School District. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education calls on the community to join with it in expressing sincere appreciation to our classified employees for a job well done.
Mr. Na.
Do we have in audience any classified employees? Do we have you guys stand up? Yes. Just stand up. We'll give you. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Yeah, I think you're the same person who spoke. Dr. Enfield, I'd like to have her make sure that she could give her graduation paper to her niece, as we have done to our teachers. Let's make it all same.
Yeah, I'll follow up with the principal.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0 with preferential voting yes. The next item is 2C2, Resolution 2021-2022-75, Day of the Teacher, Dia del Maestro. Recommend the Board of Education adopt Resolution 2021-2022-75, Day of the Teacher, Dia del Maestro. Are there any speakers? None. Seeing none, may I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second it.
All right, got that motion by Mr. Na and that second by Mr. Bridge. Comments, questions, or discussion? Mr. Na.
Yeah, I'd like to also have our teachers stand up, please, in the audience. Yeah, let's all stand up. You too. Teacher from Pomona, too. Teacher from Pomona, yeah. Okay. Thank you all. Yes, it had been a very difficult time through pandemics, but our classified employees and our teachers really really helped our children to to grow into our public school system again. It was very difficult. Sometimes they were way immature than their age because of lack of face-to-face instructions. But you have really done a great job, so thank you, teachers. Thank you.
Mr. Cruz, then Mr. Bridge. Mr. Bridge.
Thank you. Well, this is Teacher Appreciation Week nationally and even in the state. California, by the way of legislature several years ago, designates a particular day, and that's what this resolution is for. The resolution 2021-22-75, Day of the Teacher, Dia del Maestro. And I'll read the resolution. Whereas by nature, California teachers are proven leaders in bringing inventive practices and creativity into their classrooms every day, whereas California teachers have many extraordinary skills that they pull from to reach and teach students, whereas California teachers fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors, whereas California teachers work to open students' minds to ideas, knowledge, and dreams, whereas California teachers have protected and given their lives for their students, whereas California has produced the thinkers, the scientists, the inventors, the technicians, and the engineers that have led our state to become the 8th largest economy in the world, whereas California teachers continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories, whereas California teachers advocated for and currently provide the public education all students deserve, whereas California owes much of its success to its public schools, colleges, and universities that produce scholars, thinkers, and an educated workforce, whereas, the theme of the 39th Annual California Day of the Teacher on May 11th is California Educators at the Heart of Communities, Powering Our Future. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Chino Valley Unified School District hereby proclaims Wednesday, May 11th, 2022 as California Day of the Teacher, Dia del Maestro. The Board of Education urges all citizens to observe this day by taking time to remember and honor those who give the gift of knowledge through teaching.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Kim.
Okay, while we're talking about teachers and their classified employees, I just thought I'd have to speak out on this as a voice from the students to thank all of our teachers and school faculty. You guys truly make our education what it is, and I really don't know what we'd do without all of you. So thank you all so much. You have no idea how much we appreciate you, and happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential?
Aye.
With a vote of 5 to 0 to 0 with preferential voting yes, this motion carries. Moving on to item 23C, Proclamation for National School Nurse Day on May 11, 2022. Recommend the Board of Education adopt a proclamation for National School Nurse Day on May 11, 2022. Are there any speakers? None. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Na, second from Mr. Bridge. Comments, questions, or discussion? Mr. Na.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the nurses, especially in our school district, that who had put countless hours, especially with the tracing effort with pandemics. They have done a great job and saved many people's lives. I remember that one day at Buena Vista High School, nurse actually had called 911 for our young parent, for her baby, and was able to save really her life. So thank you, nurses, for all your care and love for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Na is entirely correct on that with what we have gone through the last 2 years especially. I have one more proclamation to read for this, for Chino Valley Unified School District Proclamation National School Nurse Day, May 11th, 2022. Whereas students are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. Whereas all students have a right to have their health needs safely met while in the school setting. Whereas children today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school. Whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievements of all students by providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children. Whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, parents, guardians, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health. Whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak. And whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for children every day. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Chino Valley Unified School District celebrates the accomplishments of school nurses everywhere and their efforts in meeting the needs of today's student by improving the effective delivery of health care in our schools, and shows gratitude for the nation's school nurses, not just on this National School Nurse Day, but at every opportunity throughout the year.
Mr. Cruz.
You know, from teachers to classified and nurses, ultimate the end, to have a purposeful, meaningful life in this role that you play. So I gotta hand it to a lot of you have pursued that career, where at the end of your life, you will appreciate the things that you've done. You've impacted so many people. And you know, whether it was one or many, just one will make a big difference. So whether you had a bad day or the past year that's been a grinder, you just align to people. And whoever you affect, you'll affect them. So you just be who you are and be a decent human being and love as much as you can. And forgive those that hurt you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0 with preferential voting yes. Moving on to item 2C4, Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend the Board of Education approve the Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators for the 2022-2023 school year. Are there any speakers? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Second.
Motion from Mr. Na and a second from Mr. Bridge. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Mr. Na.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on this item. In order to attract and retain great teachers, we must provide great compensations and benefits. And that has been my want for all these years. And I hope that all of our staffs would understand the needs of our care for our teachers and our staffs, CSA members, because without them, truly, our children could not receive the right education. I hope that any way we can help with their personal needs, our CSA members, our teachers, even the CHAMP members, so that they could, once they're in the classroom, or they're at the district office, or they're at the school site, they could only concentrate on the work. So I know we'll get there. It's always to do with the demand and the wants and needs, but the finances. But let's make the priority to retain and attract our staff members and teachers to improve our education in our school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0 with preferential voting yes. And that concludes this evening's action items. Moving on to our consent calendar. Pat, are there any speakers on consent items? Okay. Board members, do you have any polls?
Yes.
Mr. Schaffer?
No polls.
Mr. Na?
I have no polls.
Mr. Bridge?
Yes, I have one, item 3E1,
And what page is that on?
page 76 for action.
Okay. Mr. Cruz? Thank you. I have one pull we need to pull because we have to take a vote in open session. That is item 3C1 on page 39. Again, that's item 3C1 on page 39. For the remainder of the consent items, may I have a motion? Motion from Mr. Na. May I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bridge. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Preferential?
Aye.
Okay. So for these consent items, the motion carries 5-0-0 with preferential voting yes. Moving on to the pooled items, we will start with Mr. Bridge's pooled item, item 3E1 on page 76. Mr. Bridge.
Thank you. As we near the end of the school year, I wanted to start picking up a tradition.
Sorry,
that,
Mr. Bridge, I'm a little off my game tonight. Mr. Bridge, can I get a motion? Mr. Na, can I get a second? I'll take a second. I'll be the second. Now, comments, questions, or discussion.
Okay. As we near the end of the school year, I wanted to pick up a tradition that Mrs. Orozco started when she was on the board. I think it's a good way to honor our retirees that are going out. And so I wanted to just briefly mention a few of them that are in tonight's agenda, and then in comments later pick up some others. But those that are retiring at the end of this year, Sandra Sanchez, elementary teacher with 33 years of service. Mary Jane Sinkwich, art teacher at Chino High with 22 years of service. Deborah Stone, special education teacher at Chino High with 14 years of service. Jan Swanland Creel, art teacher at Chino Hills High School, 9 years of service. Carolee Comfort, child development teacher at Health Services, 22 years of service. And Sherry Johnson, the director of Health Services, 23 years of service. And on the classified part, Betty Lopez is central kitchen assistant at Magnolia Junior High School with 35 years of service to our district. And Martha Rodriguez, health technician, health services with 12 years of service. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take this to a vote. All those in favor, this is item 3E1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Preferential?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0 with preferential voting yes. Moving on to item 3C1 on page 39. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Na. Can I have a
Second.
second? Second from Mr. Bridge. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and just take a roll call vote. Mr. Bridge?
Aye.
Mr. Cruz? Mr. Na?
Aye.
Mr. Schaffer?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on now from consent items. We are now at information items. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move on to communications, and we will start with Mr. Schaffer.
Thank you. First, I'd like to it's hard to express how much you appreciate a group of people. I mean, our classified employees, CSEA, our teachers, and our nurses, and not just those individuals, but all of our employees, but specifically those groups, since they're being recognized. And I think it's important that they know that we all support them, not just for one day or 1 week. I mean, we support them year in and year out. And I appreciate what they do for our students every day, and not just as a board member, but as a parent. We've got some of the best employees, educational employees in the state, country. So thank you and congratulations on your specific day or week, and I hope you enjoy. Dr. Enfield, I've got a few questions. I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you'd like to get back to me, that's fine. In regards to, I believe it's Ms. Vicario? In regards to our speech pathology, do we have, there's a huge waiting list apparently. I don't know if it's for the evaluation portion, if it's for services. Do we have enough resources, or do we need to look at increasing contracts with vendors to offset some of the delays that are happening, because we need to get these students the services they need.
We have outside people that we contract with, but there's timelines that the district needs to follow, and we follow those timelines and we meet those timelines. So if not, we would be violating the IEP process. So if there's an issue, I'll follow up, but I don't know. The timelines is it's 30 or 60 days with it. They have to do the evaluation. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, there's a 30 days in there. So we're obligated to meet those
Okay,
timelines.
maybe I'm a little confused then. She was talking about a couple of months. Is that for services?
I was saying for services through the state.
Gotcha.
There's a huge wait list, but I was just referencing that how much damage it's done to our students.
Gotcha. Okay.
The master, the speed.
Have you gotten the services that your student needs?
No, my son is 3.5, so I did contact them today.
Okay.
And they have 15 days to call me back.
Gotcha.
15 days to start the process, and so he'll more than likely start next school year. I was just referencing the wait in the state of California.
Gotcha. If there is a delay in those services, would you please let Dr. Enfield know?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Our special education department has done really well by me. I have another student in the district, so I'm happy with them, but I was just referencing.
Okay, thank you. Also, Mr. Na has already asked that you look into, do we have a specific policy, or is it just kind of, as far as staff members or employees passing out certificates or diplomas, do we have a district policy on it, or is it just something that's kind of past practice?
It's been a past practice, and so it's left up to the school sites because they went back to the school sites, it was left up to them to determine what they wanted to do this year at their graduation. When we were at the arena, it was a practice that people would do that.
Okay. You will follow up on that, though?
Yes.
Thank you. And I believe she's gone now. The lady brought in some books that she was referencing that towards sex ed. Again, I would like to know what site those are from, because the public library is much different than one of our school libraries. And if those came from our school library, okay. If they came from one of our sites, I would like to know, because it's not appropriate. We did have a extensive.
Yeah, I looked, staff looked, it's not part of our curriculum.
Thank you.
It's not part of, in our second steps are in the sex curriculum, those books are not part of that.
Because I know that we had a board commission that was put together and studied this and made recommendations to the board. And I want to reassure folks that that is not being taught in our schools and it's not being shown to our kids. And I think it's a little disingenuous of somebody to bring that stuff in from a public library and indicate or insinuate that it's coming from our school and our libraries. And I would hope that she would correct the record next time she's here. Ms. Kim, I would like to say thank you and congratulate you on your term. I know it's coming to an end. You are a solid voice for the students in our district, and I thank you for that. And I will follow that up with Ms. King. I look forward to working with you, and congratulations on your appointment to the board as a student member. Congratulations to our two new coordinators that we made tonight. Look forward to working with you. And especially huge congratulations to Mr. Finkbeiner over at Canyon Hills High School for his award. Very deserving. I don't know where he gets all of his energy, but he's an extremely dynamic person. And we're lucky to have him and the students over there. He's done a great job. With that, I will conclude my comments for this evening. I would, if we can though, are we going to try to set a date for the special meeting tonight? Will that go out later?
If we can coordinate that later, just to make sure that it works for our calendars, we can communicate it appropriately to the community, that would be ideal.
I appreciate everyone attending tonight. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Really briefly, and we have not been good about this, so we need to extend time. Under board policy, we're supposed to end at 9 p.m., so we just need to extend time.
I think we could finish.
So can I get consensus to extend time?
I think we could finish it by 9.
You are a very hopeful gentleman, Mr. Na. I love the hope here. That being said, can I get consensus to extend past 9?
Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Bridge.
Thank you. I don't have too many comments, but I do have a few. I want to second on the diplomas. I think it if we need a policy, I'd like to see that, because I think it's very important for staff and to be able to do that. I recently just looked at the two pictures of handing my son and daughter their diplomas, and it still means a lot, 16 years and 13 years later. So I'd like that. I want to continue on briefly with the retirements from the 2 weeks ago, just to let you know on those. Loretta Nance, an elementary teacher from Borba, 26 years of service. Kathleen Cosin, elementary teacher at Dixon, 24 years of service. Kay Schemmer, elementary teacher at Marshall, 31 years of service. Deborah Stevens, a colleague of mine, chemistry teacher at Ayala High School, 36 years of service. Douglas Jones, music teacher, 15 years of service. And Teresa Lackey, instructional coach in special ed, 26 years of service. And on the classified side, Charles Cave, maintenance department, 19 years of service. So thank you to them as well. We have, and I think some of the games played today, some of us probably, if we were not here, would have been there. Wanted to congratulate Don Lugo baseball and softball for being league champions this year, and they're in the playoffs today. Don Lugo was at home against Cesaro. Chino High was also at home against Sierra Vista, and in softball, Chino Hills was at home against Saugus, and Ayala was at Marietta Mesa, and I think I went by Don Lugo. They were at home as well. So I wanted to congratulate them for being in the playoffs, and I hope we read good news in the score sheets tomorrow in the paper. And I think I got two more quick things. I wanted to congratulate the four schools, Walnut, Levi Dickey Elementary, Canyon Hills Junior High, and Ayala High School, for being recognized as 2022 California Pivotal Practice Award recipients. And this was an award this year that was done in place of the California Distinguished Schools Program, which has been well known for quite a while and very popular. And this highlights the schools this year that implemented pivotal practices in one of four categories during the 2021 school year in the COVID-19 pandemic. And the categories for consideration included student engagement, distribution of technology, nutrition services, and social emotional well-being of students. And so I wanted to congratulate those schools for doing that during this last couple of years that we've all gone through. And then lastly, that I have is I want to congratulate the Chino Hills High School dance team at their West Coast Elite Nationals weekend, placing first in large contemporary and several other awards in other categories. And I know it's an exciting time for them. Having gone to several dance competitions with my daughter, it was always fun to see them do well. So congratulations to them, and happy Mother's Day to everyone on Sunday that celebrates. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Yeah, Nicole, since I've been here since 2012, in graduation, I would have like parents look at me and kind of wave, and I would just bring them down. And then they just grab their kid and take photos. Huh, Mr. Na? I mean, so it just surprises me the difficulty you had, but if we were there, we'd bring you in. And then Esther, you had a good ride. It's a good ride, Esther. And the experiences you went through, it was actually good for you. Because I know through my experiences, you get to know who you are as a person, your weaknesses and your positive strengths. So since 2012, I have to say that you are one of the best. So good for you that you've experienced all this dynamic, because it's going to make you stronger. So more power to you. So good job. And then to all those that are graduating, whether it's college, vocational, or military, it's so important to have a balance in your life. And that is, it's important to have friendship. It's also important to exercise. And also, those of you that join the military, I think it's better off that you stay home with your parents. You could save a lot of money, especially you guys could you know, 17, 16 bucks, you know, a job and so forth. But, you know, you got your whole life ahead of you. Your whole life ahead of you. No worries, no nothing really. So don't get all bogged down with this and that. You just let it ride and have a purposeful, meaningful life. Only you would know that. And anybody that puts you down, they're just projecting onto themselves. But you do what needs to be done, and you have a fulfilling life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Na?
Yeah, Dr. Enfield, waivers through the state about a late start. Could we ask our legal counsel to look into that? If there's a window period of time we could possibly do it?
You're not allowed to by ed code.
Oh, we're not allowed?
No, you're not allowed to apply for a waiver specifically.
Is there any other districts have done it?
No, in the code, it does not allow for a waiver.
Oh, but just ask our legal counsel.
We did.
Oh, we did already?
Yeah, and you cannot
you
apply
cannot?
for a waiver.
Okay, I see. So let me ask around too. And also, I thought of having a program in our special ed where you have a blended mild, severe with other students. Maybe we could look into the success of program from other district and ask our special ed department to study that.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, if we could do that, and if there's a way to help the students that are caught in the middle, and parents would have difficult time judging where to send, I think it could really benefit our special ed parents and teachers and students alike. So
yeah, we'll look into those
yeah,
programs.
I think that's very important. Yes. Now I was gonna call Mr. Gallagher, but he's gone. A perfect attendance. Now we got 3 audience members left. See how you make us smart? We have Sonia Shaw and Nicole Vicario. That's the Vicario, yeah. And Richard Wills. Thank you guys for standing up this late for us, so that we could make smart and make better decisions for our children. Thank you. Appreciate you. What other things? Yes, the teachers. I would ask all of our students to respect your teachers, respect any staff members, respect your parents, respect, respect, respect. By doing so, your life will take you farther away. And this is my experience as I have grown up from your time to now. It's all about respect, respect, respect. And look at what kind of doors will be open for you. And I know, Esther, you have a big dream for your college. I know you're going to get it. I have 100% confidence you're going to do well in college, except the study will be a little bit more difficult. You need to practice, bring more hours. It's not a quality sometimes, but it's a quantity of times that matters in your college years to achieve your grades that you need. But I'm hopeful, and I support you any way I can, so that you could represent our future, our dream. Okay? So proud of you, and thank you for the service that you had provided for us. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Na. Dr. Enfield?
Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge all of our classified employees, our teachers, our nurses, and our certificated employees. I know this is the time of the year that we bring some board resolutions forward to acknowledge the work that they do all year long to educate, support, protect our students. And also I want to acknowledge that this was an extremely challenging school year with all the the changes in having to pivot through the pandemic and all the stress and anxiety that it has created for not only for our students but also for our staff. And our staff has done a phenomenal job of dealing with this and doing the work that we need to do to educate our students. And so again, I want to publicly acknowledge the work that our employees do, and they do great work in this district. And I'm extremely proud as the superintendent to be able to work with such a great group of staff members across our district. Day in and day out, they do tremendous work for our students, and they love our kids. And they work here because they care about our kids and they want to do what's best for our students. And so, again, I want to acknowledge the work that they do in our district. You know, again, we recognize them this one time during the year, but as was said up here earlier, we should be recognizing them all through the year for the work that they do in the situations that they're put in and the decisions that they have to make to educate and, again, to protect our kids. There's a lot of kids in here, a lot of employees throughout our district that work to make us a very successful district. So, again, thank you very much. And that ends my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Enfield. Some of the issues I wanted to address this evening have already been addressed, but I do want to note that I do find it somewhat problematic that someone was denied the opportunity to give someone that they've provided a great amount of care to the opportunity to present a diploma. I don't know why we don't have a policy that just allows any of our members, if they have a relationship, to do that. So I'm glad that's being attended to. I am a little troubled, though, that that was a determination in the first place. So I just wanted to note that. The Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce is hosting a teen entrepreneur fair, something I'm very excited about at Chino Hills High. We have a variety of speakers that are going to come to motivate the students and provide counsel. But more importantly, we actually have teen entrepreneur vendors that are going to be selling their goods and products. And so I encourage you to drop by and support them. It takes a lot of effort to, as a teen, come up with a business. And so let's support our teen entrepreneurs. There's also the Taste of Chino Valley, May 26th at the shops at Chino Hills. Great opportunity to support our restaurant community in Chino. We have a lot of small business restaurant owners that could use our support. One thing I am concerned about, this is something I understand is a nationwide problem, but I think we need to be competitive on a variety of fronts with all of our employees and what we offer to them, including salary and benefits. But I think specifically, you know, we do have an issue with bus drivers. I understand that the licensure and that process is very involved. You know, I think we need to brainstorm around how we can create a pipeline. I think this is a great career opportunity for our students, and I don't know that we are working with our students with this opportunity or other opportunities post-graduation, depending on what the age requirements are. But this is a great example of an invaluable job in our school district. And if we can create a pipeline and support a pipeline of students and expose them to this opportunity, like we do many others, that would be wonderful. Ms. Kim, I'd like to thank you for your time on the board. I have to say, I genuinely appreciate your curiosity. You ask a lot of questions, but I think that's an important trait. We got to ask questions to get answers, to get solutions, and so I appreciate your tenacity in serving as a student board member. And for those of you that don't know, Ms. Kim serves on innumerable things throughout the state and the county on behalf of students. And so she's very committed to providing a voice to all the students in this district. So Ms. Kim, I have no doubt that you'll be successful, and I hope you enjoy your senior year when you're not in the hot seat at the end of the dais, and have a little fun. Finally, and I'm going to keep echoing this, and I don't care if I'm a broken record, we seem to have these really contentious meetings. I just ask that everybody be respectful, regardless of your point of view. People are coming here to speak on various parts of issues, and they deserve that opportunity. There are people here tonight that clearly, on all aspects of topics we discussed, were scared to be up at the mic. Some people were shaking. It's very hard for people to come publicly speak, and it takes a lot of courage. And so I just ask that as we move forward, just be respectful. You know, everybody should have their time. You don't have to agree with what they're saying, but I do want everybody to feel comfortable coming before the board and being able to express their opinion. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:09 p.m.